95! He blundered 95!
Okay, that makes the game shorter. A fork, and it's game over.
What?
Grieschuk with a better endgame, but wins in the end with a one-move fork, and will now face Hikaru next. So he lost the game against Jan Nepomniachtchi by disconnecting and not making it back to his game in time. He lost that game and is currently on 50% only, 1.5 points, while Levon Aronian is one of the leaders of the event, together with surprise leader Pentala Krishna, who is supposed to be one of the underdogs, but there he is leading with 2.5 points. Pentala will go with the white pieces against Jan Nepomniachtchi in round 4. Wait a second, I thought we start with the Nakamura Grieschuk. Now I'm looking at the pairings, and it's coming up later. I spoiled it. Round 5
That's
is
okay.
the Dog Life one, but anyway.
That's
How's everyone
okay.
doing?
We do have the Alireza matchup first, I suppose. They changed the way the crop was on the scoreboard on me since last night. I mean, there was a lot of changes, but yeah, this is why we have this buffer period. Chat, how we doing? Hikaru is going up against Alireza, Alexander Grieschuk, and Jan Nepomniachtchi today. Grieschuk is struggling. Grieschuk is in last, but that doesn't. It's not such a big deal, right? Because we've only had 3 games so far.
Exactly, only 3 games, and as Hikaru said, that this is not only a rapid event. So it's 9 rounds of rapid, but then 18 games of Blitz chess will follow, and the overall result will matter for the tournament standing. So lots and lots more to play for. Everyone still has a chance at winning the tournament. Hikaru himself didn't have such a good day yesterday. As he pointed out, it was him not finding the right moves in critical moments. He was happy with his overall play, but he didn't make the best decisions, the most precise decisions in some of the critical moments that cost him a point or so at least. So he could have scored more from the positions he had. He's on 1 point out of 3, but there's a lot more to come. This is only the second day, and there are 5 days in total.
Should also remind people that the reason you're seeing 5 points scored in 3 games is that the rapid portion gives you 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 points for a participation medal. But Levon Aronian and Hare Krishna yesterday made 1 draw each, and both won 2 games. And Levon Aronian starts out with a very important test in round 4, as he has to play against Magnus Carlsen. So games are going to be loaded up any second, and here they are. Fantastic. We have moves.
Just on cue, the world champion with the white pieces against Levon Aronian. He's another one of those participants that Magnus does get on very well with. They are friends, but at the chessboard, there's no such thing as friendship. We saw that in the Nepomniachtchi game, and we will see that also in the Aronian game, I'm sure.
Yes, I do think so. One thing I wanted to just point out is that Hikaru's opponent, Alireza Firouzja, he's playing into the same thing that Magnus has played into yesterday. I'm going to put Magnus on the bottom left. We're going to take a look at what happens in the opening, and then we're going to scan everything. The Magnus game is a very theoretical position right now on the bottom left of your screen. It's a Catalan opening with this early queen maneuver to c4, and Alireza is playing in the very same way that Hikaru played.
Interesting that we get to see another Caro-Kann defense. Levi, you are the expert here on the Caro-Kann, so tell us about what is this line mainly, why give the check and then move the queen?
Well, you play queen a5 check so that you can do exactly what Magnus did yesterday and put the queen right on that square. But, okay, the difference here, and look at this, today we have flags and stuff. So the difference is this whole idea that white has in this position of the move e6. Those have watched enough of my gameplay in this variation know that sometimes I've even checkmated people on g6 here, and that's really the whole point. You can't take this pawn because it hinders your development, and your king is extremely weak on the g6 square. So Alireza takes the queen, Hikaru throws in this move, and now has double pawns on the d file, but Alireza's king is pretty weak, and it's just a really weird position. Anna, do you play e4? Do you play the Caro-Kann with black, or is this all?
I have played it with both colors very few times with black, but I was trying to learn it since I'm a huge fan of the French defense, and I was trying to broaden my repertoire by adding different openings to it. The Hurricane is the closest to the French defense. It's like an improved version of the French, I must say, because you get your bishop out at least. That's the problem piece in the French. But I only played it a few times. I do face it a lot with the white pieces, though.
I like this variation a lot. This has been, for me, this advanced Caro-Kann, and especially against bishop f5 going h4 has been kind of like the mainstay for me recently. And I was actually, it was funny, like yesterday I said I played against Alexei Shirov. Alexei Shirov has a variation named after him. Very few people on earth can have that. Well, I guess anybody can name a variation after themselves, you know, like,
yeah,
try hard enough.
Is it that G4 move in the
Yes.
Philidor? Do you know the story behind it?
The G4 move in which variation?
Yeah, and we're going to focus on the position in a second. It just reminded me that I think I know how he invented that line. At least I heard a story that he was just talking to friends at a tournament, like they were just having a drink and just talking about chess casually. And then he had the idea, so that it wasn't like, you know, we are at home and this whole full-on chess mode analyzing and what can I invent, what can I find, but it was just like a casual discussion and just asking, and what if I played G4 there or something, but just like totally casual pop conversation, and there we go, we have a Shirov variation.
Oh wow. And so he like went back home and was like, you know that thing that I recommended when I was drunk? It's actually pretty good.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, Shirov has a lot of, specific to the Caro-Kann, he has this knight c3 and g4 variation, but basically every variation that involves Shirov's name has a g4 somehow.
True.
Just, you know, he's just not one g4. That would be the Grob. Shirov is not interested in that, but yeah, there's the Shirov-Shabalov variation, the Latvian kings, like in the school of chess in Latvia. I like these kinds of positions a lot because it's not easy for black to develop. Black does not have the natural move e5, and he doesn't have g5. His structure is a little bit frozen. You know what I really don't like? I don't like the doubled pawns. That can be difficult to overcome with the white pieces.
Yes, those are doubled and isolated pawns. They don't have buddies, they don't have friends, and that's sad. That's sad on the chessboard too, when you don't have anyone to support those d3 and d4 pawns. So that's one of the disadvantages of this structure, and that white pieces are doomed to the defense of those pawns forever. For instance, this f3 knight would love to jump to e5 or g5, and you can do it with a check, but then the next move, you will still need to take care of your d4 and h4 pawns, which will be hanging.
Exactly. I mean, this last move, rook g8, just shows you the difficulty of the position, by the way. It's not so clear what is even the plan, because he can't quite go g5 yet. He probably wants to build up slowly with a move like g6, maybe bishop h6. Bishop h6 is also challenging. I'll just take it and I'll plop my knight into the center here. I was going to go check on the theory of the position, because yesterday, one of the things that we saw was the way that Magnus played this. He played e6, right? Himself on move 6. And that prevents white from playing e6. But Hikaru got a pretty promising position. So this investment of one full move actually gave Hikaru the opportunity to not trade the queens, because he was able to put his knight on d2 and play the move c4. But Alireza played it in such a way that you allow this e6 thing. And I don't think it's the most popular way from black, but it's very to the point and just says, okay, let's get this position and let's play.
Yes, I guess that could be his approach. Simply, it's a playable position, interesting position for sure, because there's definitely a lot of dynamic factors to it when it comes to white's position. You need to compensate for the structural weakness, but by being very active here, the e file is a semi-open file for white that you can use for your rook. Rook e1 would be a natural move here, or knight to c3. Of course, you need to develop your queen side as well. So let's see how this game develops. Certainly not a boring position. It's not a mirror position where you would have a lot of the same characteristics.
Hikaru's very natural move short castles is actually the novelty, apparently. Before, there was only bishop f4 and bishop e3. And both of those games resulted in white not winning. So
Oh,
this could be a new, we could be paving history here.
yes, this could be then a better novelty. Castle Kingside on move 12 seems to be Hikaru's novelty, whether it was prepared or inspiration over the board. Both of them are very welcome. Sometimes the best of novelties come out of genuine, spontaneous brilliance over the board. In this case, on digital board, but yeah, it used to be players actually leaning toward the chess pieces.
True. And one important thing to note is this move, Rook G8, is not featured in the game, and I don't think it's featured in the games that have made it to a similar position. It's mostly Knight D7, and then Black tries to play maybe with the Rook to E8, and then E6, Bishop D6. So Rook G8 is interesting, but it hasn't been tried. Probably at this point the players are, I don't know if they have a database mentally of games in this position, or they're just kind of paving the way here on their own. One thing, Anna, I wanted to mention is on move 5, after h4, h5. So the Masters database has like 800 games of c4, but I think that's kind of an old main line. And I think that Bishop d3, which is the move Hikaru's been playing, is kind of the newer, more modern main line. But Bishop g5 has a lot less games and scores 55% for white. You guys are looking for a weapon, and this is what I recommend this position. So
Yeah.
can't go e6 because the queen is hit. So if you guys want a new weapon, go try this out in some Blitz games.
I know of this variation because of Nicolas Torsten. Shout out to Nicola, who has been supporting so many of the chess channels here on Twitch. I do have a stream with him where I'm teaching him, much like the Ursula learns chess. I'm now teaching Nicola through streams, and he plays that line. I had no idea of this before I saw his games, but I find it such a difficult line for black to face because bishop g5 prevents the natural e6. So you need to move the queen. And there are all these lines where black can take the b2 pawn, but white gets a lot of compensation for it. So I think that's a good call, Levy, definitely.
Exactly, and I see some questions in chat about the theoretical status and certain variations. The point is that once you start digging really deep into the theory, there's certain variations that are paused because the computer and the best players, they kind of find a solution, but that's the whole point of the the like Stockfish New now, this NNUE, I don't know, is that how you pronounce it? New? I like that. It's gonna study this variation. Maybe it'll come up with a deep idea. Let's go around. What's happening in the Magnus game? Hikaru on the bottom left for now. Any game that's interesting?
Position. I'm just looking at this evaluation board, being very happy with White's position. It does look very comfortable with the space advantage that White has in the center, and due to it, White's pieces are more active too. White can still just decide to castle kingside. The king should be safe there. I wonder if there's anything concrete when it comes to like bishop b7 to try to ruin the pawn structure of white on the king's side. How do you react? There has to be multiple ways to react to it for sure, but I wonder what's the best.
Yeah, my big question is immediately what's going to happen in the position if the bishops are traded. I played bishop b7, bishop e4. I also, did I say that this was a Catalan earlier? I don't
remember if we said that.
It's not. Just correction if I said that.
It's a Grunfeld. Right. So in the Catalan, your pawn would be on g3, and it's not there in this position. That's one of the differences with the Grunfeld.
Know my openings. I promise. I don't learn them right before the stream. Just misspeak sometimes. I thought it was a Catalan because a6 b5. This whole thing in the Catalan is very standard to meet the queen, but then the queen drops back. But I just completely, I was looking at the game briefly, didn't realize that g3 bishop g2 not played. Instead, we had d5, which is the Grunfeld. Does Levon Aronian play the Grunfeld?
It's definitely a surprise. You would think of the Grunfeld more when it comes to Peter Svidler and Maxim Vachier-Lagrave. So maybe he has taken some inspiration from Peter and Maxime and now decided that this is the best against Magnus. But at the same time, I don't think his position is all right. So Did he mix up the variation?
I'm not sure, because this is unpleasant, this bishop e6 move. Now my big question is, Anna, can I just play d5? Like, if d5 works, white is much, much better. And okay,
It's on the
Magnus
board?
thinks that it does work.
Yeah. I mean, why not? You don't want to waste time by moving the queen away, but pushing in the center, d5. Black cannot take this pawn. Whether the bishop is hanging is another question, because d3 bishop is also not protected. So d takes e6 would lead to queen takes d3. But in any case, you are just making sure that your queen is not hanging, and white could castle next move or move the bishop.
Very true. Well, I think you also have to consider something. If something happens, like where rook ends up on d1, whether that's rook d1 or long castles for white, this d file opening up is going to be a serious problem. I'm able to castle queenside. I'm thinking g4, h4, h5. Because what's that knight on h6 doing? Like, this whole position looks suspect. Doesn't look healthy.
I agree. It feels like something has gone wrong. I wish I was a Grunfeld expert and I could tell you where it went wrong. Whoa, okay, 97, because after d takes e6, knight c5 wins the pawns back. But it also feels like that bishop is running out of space. The bishop on e6 in general. What if white moves the bishop away from d3 or protects it?
I was just thinking bishop. Is bishop e3 possible? That move should just stop it all, right?
Yeah, it does stop knight c5. It's a developing move, and white will threaten d takes e6. So black would have to move the bishop to f5. That's the only square.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe then he still gets away with it, but it just looks so bad. The evaluation bar shows advantage too. Such good control of the center, and it also feels like there could be tactical motives. I'm also thinking this, if the bishop can only move to f5, and we don't trade it, but then could threaten g4.
More ideas, yeah.
So there's just something fishy about this, for sure.
And e5 is not even hanging, because the bishop is hitting the h6 knight. So this bishop on g7 has to maintain defense. So for example, you can't play this, because I just win your knight, and then I'm going to win. I think Magnus Carlsen, if you give Magnus Carlsen peace odds, I don't think it's going to go so well. That's just my hot take of the day. That's hot take number 1.
Wow. You're starting on a high note, Levi, with the hot takes. Look at the time management too. Magnus in a great position, has barely used any time, and now he is just taking a moment to calculate which one is his best option. I'm sure he is loving this position. I'm sure that he thinks that there has to be something wrong. He moves the bishop back to b1, so now the bishop on e6 is hanging.
Bishop b1 is a fancy move. I was just basically going to say that this position up until queen b3 has been reached over 700 times, and here the knight is under attack, normally goes back this way. Oops. Draw the arrow, there we go. But he played knight g4, which is only played in like 50 games. And let's see if Magnus basically refuted it. Played more or less the standard moves. And then bishop e6 is a novelty, which if in a Grunfeld you play a brand new move, that's either very bad or very good. And I don't think in this case it's very good.
I think if bishop e6 is officially a novelty, and Levon Aronian has taken time to move it, plus he now keeps thinking, perhaps he mixed up something in his opening preparation. You don't just go for this opening. The Grunfeld is not one of those openings that you just play and then wing it. There are so many sharp lines where you need to know the specific line until move 20. So may not have been the best day or the best round to choose the Grunfeld, or at least it seems that Levon Aronian has forgotten his own preparation, confused something, because what we see on the board is looking great for the world champion.
It really is. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause from watching Magnus get a really dominant position very quickly. Jeffrey Shang versus Alexander Grieschuk. How is this happening? How did the queen end up on c3 and the rook ended up on b7? Like, how did that?
Great question there, Levi. There had to be a moment where black took on b2, on move 13, queen takes b2, rook b1, queen takes c3, and the bishop on b7 was taken. So black has a pawn up, which is a pass pawn on a5, but it's a pair of bishops for Jeffrey. Does that compensate for the sacrifice pawn, and will this a pawn be an issue or not?
Chess grandmasters are so weird, Anna. Like, look at this. Bishop b5, knight d7, a4. We can begin to explain a4, but it's so hard to explain to new players. Like, why is that move okay?
Yeah.
It's only okay like in this particular variation, because normally black is supposed to go a6 and b5, and the whole point of a4 is that you prevent that from happening. Future.
True. Yeah, very true. A trade is now happening on b8, and after that, we shall see if Jeffrey will manage to put some pressure on the queen side itself. Because so far it looks like a free roll where Grieschuk will just start pushing the a pawn. Knight c4 makes sense. That knight stands well on c4, and it can also now threaten with bishop d2 and capture the pawn.
d2, and if you win the a5 pawn, you're very happy. Queen b4. Okay, Grieschuk Blitz. I feel like this game's gonna simplify into a draw, but if somebody's playing for a win, I think it's Grieschuk. I like his position a lot. His bishop on g7, looking nice. And okay, yeah. I mean, once you win this pawn, it's just equal.
Yeah, Grieschuk decided that the safety of his queen was priority, so he is taking some time to move it back, give up the a pawn, but in this way his queen can go back to b5 or c6 if needed. This, I think, as you said, is likely to lead toward a drawish position. So let's take a look at the remaining games as well. We have Wesley still with the white pieces against Lanier Dominguez.
Classical Spanish. Knight takes e4. This b5 d5 system is pretty trendy when black takes on e4 and plays b5 d5. Didn't Lanier have this yesterday? Lanier had this against Jeffrey Shang, except Lanier was white. I think.
Yeah, true. Yes, the Rudolf has been one of the popular openings, apart from the Carlsen, which somehow seems to be trending in this Rapid and Blitz so far.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that to become 2760, you need to know the Spanish with white and with black. There you go.
Yeah. That is true. One of the most popular openings on top level, the Spanish or Ruy Lopez.
We have Wesley doubling his own e-pawns. That is so weird. Again, how do you explain that? Like, that does not look good at all. But it is because there's no way to actually attack the pawn on e5, right?
Yeah, it's a bit similar to the isolated doubled pawns that Hikaru has. Hikaru has d3, d4 pawns, and these are e3, e5 pawns. In general, that would be a bad structure, bad pawn structure, because of what we said. They don't have friends, they don't have buddies that can support them. You do want a healthy pawn chain where your pawns are supporting each other. You don't want pieces to have to be defending your pawns. But here, as you said, there's no way of exploiting it. You need to be a very good player to get away with pawn structures like this, though, because I think for beginners or intermediate level players, this is where you can get into trouble easily, because those are permanent weaknesses. You can really not get rid of them unless your opponent is helping you and trades them.
Exactly, and I'm getting yelled at as well by someone in chat saying, you're opening up the rook. You are, but I'm not sure this rook is going to take part in some attack just yet. Although there are ideas to, maybe jump in with the knights and hit h7 from a distance. Everybody's yelling at me. Oh, let's look at the Hari Krishna game. I mean, he is winning the tournament. Probably look at Hari. This was a Sicilian. Okay, main line. Queen takes d4. So I loved queen takes d4 when I was like 2200. King takes d4 is an interesting line, Anna. Have you ever played this with white? It's fun.
No, it's the Hungarian variation, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, so you should play it.
I know, but I'm not good enough to be that patriotic that I choose the openings that match my nationality. I play the French and I don't even speak French.
Well, the whole point is, everybody, that knight c6 can hit the queen, but then you play bishop b5, which would pin the knight to the king. So white just tries to get quick lead in development, and if black plays the move e5, that's great. Like, black plays e5 hitting the queen, but then you'll be able to move the queen, obviously, and the structure is locked in the center of the board. But those are the options. But looks like Nepo is doing well, and in his patented Nepo style, is up 50% on time.
Patented for sure. Nepo plays all of his games very quickly. It doesn't really matter what's the starting time. He always has more time than his opponents, almost always. And the current position, I do think it's chaotic, with black having a d pass pawn that was threatened to be pushed to d2 as a fork, so rook d1 prevents it and attacks the d3 pawn.
Yeah, and then if you take on d3, you'll probably be happy. Everyone's yelling at me that Hikaru is winning.
Oh.
Hop into Hikaru's game, put Magnus on the bottom left once again. Okay, so what happened?
I mean, it does look great, does look like a huge improvement, and Hikaru is undermining the defense of the e7 pawn. That's why he's aiming to trade that knight and then take on e7. If knight takes g3, we can take on e7 with a check, rook takes e7, and then take back on g3 if we want to.
Yes, I'm not even sure we want to. I think...
Yeah, that's why I said we want to, because probably that knight on c7 or the rest of the pieces of black are also appealing.
Yeah, rook b7... I mean, the most fun, it's not going to happen, would be the move king d8, which allows a peekaboo check on g7. Discover check, and then you win the rook, and then you take the other rook, and then you take the knight, and then now black has no pieces left. Ooh, Alireza plays bishop f8. There must be something here. Oh, is he just going to go like... No.
Hikaru just taken and played bishop to f4 to attack the knight on c7. If you have to play moves like bishop f8, it means that something has gone wrong. This cannot be a good position for black.
Yes, exactly, guys. And normally, black would be able to play the move long castles here, defending his knight and getting the king out of the center. But if you try to do that, it's illegal. Anybody remember why?
You're testing the audience's memory.
King move. So even though you move your king and you get it back to the home square, you don't... It's not like, you know, stepping back on a teleporter when you time travel. You moved your king, and so you are not allowed to castle anymore. And that, fortunately, means that your king is stuck, and the only way to move the king would be to move it one square and then protect the knight. But then the knight jumps into g5, e5, and so on. And actually, these doubled pawns help white. Got the open files.
Yep. They do help here. So this is one of those circumstances where having double pawns is useful, but you need to be a really good player to know when it's okay to have them and when it's not so okay.
This looks really, really tough for Alireza, and it goes to show you that if you don't play knight d7, he never played knight d7, he played knight a6 and knight c7. You run the risk when you play brand new openings at the highest level, when you run into really experienced players, if you don't find the best plan after leaving theory, disaster can strike. I'm not even sure what Alireza has to do here.
There aren't too many options. He can place the knight back onto that lovely flank square, a6. Knights on the rim are dim, so definitely not ideal. Or try to protect it with the rook, with the king. There aren't too many options.
The thing is that you're going to be positionally busted. I think, by the way, one very hidden thread in all this, like right now, and actually, I was just about to say this, all of this has happened, rook e5, and there is no way to protect the pawn. Yeah. You can, if you play e6, I take it, play f4, I take this. Alireza has played rook g4. Let me rub my eyes. What? What does rook g4 do, Anna? That doesn't attack anything.
Very good point, Levy. Maybe he wants to then place the bishop on g7 and finally he'll be threatening something, but most certainly this position is great for Hikaru. He's about to win a pawn, and after he collects the f5 pawn, he can take on h5 as well. So this seems to be a disaster for Firouzja. I wonder where it went wrong earlier, but um, allowing bishop g5 and then the knight maneuver uh, was something that he had to prevent. That definitely he should have prevented it. Easy for us to say, of course, easy for us.
Yeah, as somebody who has played Hikaru relatively frequently, it's easy to look back at the games and go, I should have done this and I should have done that. But unfortunately, when you play him, a little bit different. One other really sad thing about this position is the bishop on f8 cannot move at all.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many problems in this position. Hikaru has tons of time as well, so you can't even say that Firouzja at least has practical chances because of putting time pressure on Hikaru. No, Hikaru has tons of time, extra material, active pieces. Life is good.
Life is good. He's taking on f5, and Firouzja's saying, all right, man, just take on h5 too. I don't care. Take all the pawns. I want active pieces. And he's doing the right thing. He is doing the right thing. I think this is practically the best. He'll put his bishop here. And what Black... I've actually lost games like this. You get a good position with white, and then your pawns are too delicate in the endgame, and Black wins the d4 pawn, and then maybe tries to get in, create some more counterplay. It can be annoying.
Yes, and this will be a rook endgame, so perhaps the best of all the options for Firouzja to try to get some practical chances. Still, under normal circumstances, I think Hikaru will be converting this, and he has plenty of time to think about the right move order and the exact decisions in every move. So, what about taking a quick look at Magnus's position again? Levon Aronian is one of the leaders of the tournament. Magnus is only on 50%, but in this game, he is doing very well and might just tell Levon, I'm gonna catch up with you in points.
Oh man, that disconnect hurts, but luckily it is a very long event, and Magnus definitely has, I mean, he's Blitz World Champion, so he's looking forward to it. It's so hard to wrap my head around the fact that 5 days of chess determined the winner. Because we've had very immediate results. We've had knockouts, right? Like Fisher Random was a 3-day event. This is a 27-round tournament, which is more than I've played.
Very true, very true. 5 days of chess, 5 days of excitement, and tons of games for us to basically enjoy. We are trying to learn from them, but also they are very entertaining. Luckily for us, the shorter the time control, the more mistakes are also likely. So in Blitz, I think there will be even more ups and downs. Fisher Random was fun for that too, because the starting positions were so unique that the players were, of course, thinking from move one on, and there were very strange things out of the opening. But this position for Levon looks just very difficult to play. King safety, piece placement, just the general activity of white pieces, this e5 pass pawn for Magnus. The rook comes into the game with a tempo. Now he plays queen b3 to pin the knight, and the rook and the g8 king, all of them on the same diagonal. Looks just so bad.
Yeah, it's not looking great. It's a great start for Magnus, who yesterday obviously disconnected and now has to work a little bit harder in points in the rankings, but this is huge. Levon Aronian yesterday had one shaky game that he survived against Grieschuk, but credit to his defensive skills. This one I'm not so confident in. Being down 10 minutes on the clock, and you have this little armada of pieces. The pieces are basically hugging it out and going, all right, man, this is it. Like, we got to buckle down, but Magnus is just going to keep on firing off, and he's not even fighting with the full army. The rook on f1 isn't even in the game yet, so...
Maybe that's a good shout, and he will just play rook f2 e1, say that, yep, all of his pieces are ideally placed. You want to maximize the potential of your pieces. That knight on d5 is a beast, and all the white pieces are ready to act. Why for black? The diagonal with the queen pointing at all those pieces, and in general, the weakened king structure Plus, all the pieces of black are passive too. That there is no target that could cause counterplay for black.
Some transformation happened in the Hikaru game. I'm going to quickly pull this up. Past like 8 or 9 moves. You try to simplify a position down to the most easily convertible situation. So Hikaru is trying to do that. Exactly what I said was going to happen. The capture on d4. And now Hikaru wins basically all the pawns on Alireza's king side. Has 3 connected passers. And that's really where his advantage lies. He's no longer up 2 pawns. He's only up 1. But there's pressure on the b7 pawn. Alireza probably will have to play rook b8. If he doesn't, I don't know what he's going to do. And Hikaru's going to slowly look to convert this. 18 minutes to 4. I mean, that is a statement.
Yeah, it's huge difference in time, but the position itself too is winning for Hikaru. As you said, he gave back one of the pawns that he has an advantage, but those 3 passed pawns on the king side will promote, plus the b7 pawn is hanging. And if you have to play rook b8 here as black, that's extremely sad. That's passive, very passive, versus how active the white rooks are on the 7th. It just goes to show what rook endgames are about. And here, for instance, Hikaru can take on b7 with a check that will protect the b2 pawn, or just even wait with that move, protect the f2 pawn, and black can never take on b2 because of rook takes b7, picking up the b2 rook.
Yeah, I mean, Hikaru can literally take b7 and a7 if Alireza allows it. He'll have 3 pawns up temporarily, but he has to then understand which pawns he's going to give back, because he can't hang on to everybody. It's not going to work. And Alireza's biggest and only asset in the position is the pawn on d5. That is, got to invest in it.
Hikaru takes on b7 with a check, very logical. The king will have to move to the a or c files. Now he can even follow up with another check if he wants to, b4, or just either defend the f2 pawn or push the h pawn. Like, I guess, see, he has so many good moves at disposal. Probably the easiest, simplest is if you play rook h to f7, so you protect the pawn and also get out of the way of the h pawn.
Yeah, I think so. Looking at this, I was also thinking to play b4 with check. Take on a7. Alireza probably has to keep a rook on the board. It has to keep 2 rooks on the board, what I would imagine.
Exactly, that's when he has some chances. So with 2 rooks as a defender, what you can try to do is basically the same as Hikaru, the setup to get the second rook as well to the 2nd rank, and to try to grab some of the pawns and maybe a perpetual check. But it's gonna take a while. Rook h f7, yes, protects the pawn, and then he's ready to push.
Exactly. I don't know how you stop this. This is literally the plan. g4, g5, h5, g6, and so on. You could stop 1 pawn, but once the 2nd one comes, it's going to be brutal. And by the way, king g3 and pushing the f pawn. Yeah, not winning this would be more heinous than what the Los Angeles Clippers did. Anna, did you watch that game? I'm sure you did, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. Chat, help, please. Can you guys? Yeah, of course I watched that, Levy. Yeah, I watch it every day and night, always and forever.
Crazy, right? What Denver did to LA. I mean, just sad, honestly. Okay.
Couldn't believe it. Yeah, I mean, how dare?
One day Anna's gonna hit me with some crazy. She's gonna hit me with like the local fencing news, and I'm gonna be like,
"How are your hurling skills? And what about rugby?"
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know too much. But yeah, man, the Clippers, is the new meme for sure. But good start out the gate for Hikaru. You couldn't have asked for a better start, actually. And thank you to Alireza for playing an opening that leads to a potentially imbalanced game and not trying to sit there and... Well, Magnus played Guru Lopez every game against Hikaru. Thank you to Alireza for fighting for the reputation of the Caro-Kann.
You're taking that title back from him, that he shouldn't really rep the Caro Nation.
You know, credit to Hikaru. Hikaru probably just came off of analyzing a game that he played against Magnus. He fine-tuned his... Very, very bold, actually. Because in Ali Reza's head, he's like, well, he played this way against Magnus. Maybe he'll play the same way against me. So he prepares it. He knows it's coming, and he still doesn't get a great position. So credit to Hikaru. He probably just went back and fine-tuned everything, made sure everything was okay.
Yeah, very nice game by Hikaru from start to finish. It's still not over, but under normal circumstances, Hikaru converts this easily. Another player that will convert easily is, I believe, Magnus Carlsen, who has just played knight f6 check. It's a fork, so black has to trade that knight, take on f6. And if black takes the pawn on f6 to protect the f5 pawn, white might just capture the pawn on b4. It's simple chess. All the pieces of black are totally out of coordination. I was trying to find the best word for it. It looks like as if the pieces were dropped on the board almost, because you want your pieces to coordinate well, the piece setup to be harmonious, and here all the pieces of black are just doing their own business, minding their own business here.
Man, very rough start for Levon and Ali Reza today. I don't know what they said or did, or if Magnus and Hikaru both woke up today and were like, all right, enough is enough. I don't know why we're not at the top two. They had a good stay at the top there. But actually, speaking of which, how was Ali Reza doing? How was his day yesterday? Ali Reza, 2 draws and a loss. So actually, rough all the same, but difficult to run into re-energized and refueled Hikaru, who knows he's got thousands of people cheering him on, right, Chad?
Exactly. Can we hear that cheering? Can we see it and hear it, Chad? Can we get some of that hype? Root for Hikaru, because this is just the first of his 3 games to be played. He's doing very well in this very first game, but in the next one, he's facing Thug Life, Sasha Krishna. It's gonna be an interesting clash. 3-time World Blitz champion, Sasha is. And speaking of him, Grieschuk had, was that the Grieschuk game yesterday? I'm confusing the pairings, if not, or wait a second. When Aronian had his king on d1, that was against Grieschuk, right?
Yes.
So it's true that Levon Aronian is leading, but he had a very suspicious game against Grieschuk where he probably was lost for most of the game.
And Grieschuk actually had a position against Jeffrey Shang this round where material was completely symmetrical. Like, totally. The pawn structure, all the same pawns. 2 knights and a bishop versus 1 knight and 2 bishops. So Jeffrey Shang has the 2 bishops. But Grieschuk just punishing Jeffrey here for this expansion. Plays a nice idea here. Rook takes c4. The knight used to guard the bishop. Invests a rook for 2 pieces. And did Jeffrey just blunder that? Is that what just happened? Or...
looks like, I mean, rook to d1, the evaluation bar, well, for the whole time, it wasn't really pleased about Jeffrey's position. Yeah, it seems to have been bad for a while, actually.
So I guess Grieschuk just had a more pleasant position because of his active play. Maybe it was this plan, Anna, this c3, d4 plan. He just shouldn't have done it. He just shouldn't have tried to fight with the pawns.
I really thought this game was heading toward a draw, but kudos to Alexander Grieschuk for not thinking that was the end of the story. He activated the rest of his pieces, and with his queenside initiative, he managed to win material.
Yeah, now he's got a symmetrical pawn structure endgame, which, you know, the engine will say it's minus 1.5, but winning this practically is difficult. You know, black's got 2 knights and a bishop for bishop and rook. What is the winning plan, right? You say, oh, I'm minus 1.5. Look at the engine. Yeah, but how do you win? I don't know. We'll freeze frame it right here. This is my biggest evaluation of the entire game. Oh, and Magnus has won. It is official. Magnus Carlsen has won.
As the first decisive result of the round. Next one could be Hikaru. It's an endgame, though. That's why it's taking longer. It's not a checkmate plan that he has to execute. It's a rook endgame where he's winning, but it's still gonna take some time. Grieschuk is doing very well as well, but that's an endgame too. So the other 2 games are Hikaru Krishna versus Nepomniachtchi, where Nepomniachtchi is doing great. The d2 pass pawn is very close to being supported by a rook c1 move.
Yeah, let me go take a look. Wow, yeah, Nepo is in cruise control. Look at the time!
I know, it's crazy. 12 versus 47 seconds.
There we go. Perfect. Sorry, we were supposed to have pet the Hikaros for a little bit on the screen, but it was malfunctions. We got 2 of them now. Sometimes you gotta refresh it.
Pet the Hikaru. You guys spam that in the chat as well. Pet the Hikaru.
Good game from him. Yeah, now Nepo just converts. Nice idea here. The passive nature of the knight and the queen is going to be winning material. I would imagine Hari resigns here. Wow, the leaders run into this. Hari Krishna is extremely good, and Nepo's extremely good, and I think Nepo just is a tough opponent. White or black, doesn't matter what you play against him. He's going to play really fast. He's going to play really well, and you got to come to fight.
Yeah, and not an easy opponent. Yesterday he didn't have such a good day. He did beat the world champion. Yes, internet connection played a role, but he also managed to survive a really suspicious opening position against Magnus. So he fought well, and then luck was on his side in that game.
And it's official. Hari has resigned. Wow, 2 games done like that. And it's crazy because this game came out of nowhere. Like the nature of the game, I should say, came out of nowhere. Like Nepo was just doing okay, and then like that, it happened.
Exactly. Wesley So is doing well.
Ooh, this looks nice.
Yeah.
Now we see why f takes c3. Why this whole plan of opening the rooks, right, Anna? Look at this. This beautiful play here from Wesley.
I know. And after g6, he said, you know what? Take my rook. I would love to have you capture that rook for free.
Yeah, actually, I breezed past that, but that's gangster chess. He said, dude, good luck. I got knight f6 check on the way. Can't take it. If you move your king, queen takes f5. GG, you can't stop mate. Gotta sacrifice your queen.
Yeah. Well, this position for Dominikas will be a miracle to escape from, but maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Depends if there's something concrete now after king g7.
Yeah, one more thing I just wanted to point out that is super, super instructive about this position is the move queen d3. So queen d3 invites something to take on d4. If you play rook takes d4, there is an amazing combination here. Knight f6 check, and if you move your king, I mate you. So you gotta take me. But my queen is hanging. I have to check you, king h8, and then take with the pawn, threatening your queen, and mate. That's the point.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful motive. That pawn on f6 is worth more than a piece.
No, it's worth 10 points. But c takes d4 is a really cool concept. It freezes black's position. Black wins a pawn, but now his rook is out of the game, and this bishop hits nothing. And so white is able to activate all his pieces while using the enemy pawn as a shield. It's like super instructive there from Wesley. Queen h3 now? Wait, how is Linier not just like totally lost here?
Good question. Knight g5 and the king went back to g8. I don't exactly understand what's the defensive plan he has. If queen h3, the only way to defend against queen h7 efficiently is to push h5, but h5... Oh.
Maybe even g4? G4? I don't know if it works, but take the rook, queen h5. Looks very bad. Some things are...
does look bad. Maybe there he still has f6 to protect the h7 square, but something has to be going wrong here. I guess his reasoning is that if after queen h3, h5, there's nothing concrete, the rook is hanging on f5, and that is the rook that's protecting the g5 knight.
Aha. Well, we do get queen h3. Is that going to come true?
We'll see. H5 is on the board. What's the follow-up? If Wesley doesn't have
No,
a
he
concrete
has.
line here...
Yes. I don't know what it is, but...
Yeah.
What's
No,
wrong with...
intuition says there has to be something, but if he doesn't find it, then black is back in the game.
I think there is a very concrete problem with g4. It must be something... Okay, wait, what did he actually play? Oh, queen g3. Oh, and if takes knight e6 and mate. Oh.
Okay, that's nice. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
So you baited the pawns forward, and they can't even do anything. They're just walking into the enemy pieces. What a beast. This is a gorgeous attacking game from Wesley. I was going to say that
if
g4...
the king goes to AJ, then the f7 pawn is hanging,
yeah.
so that you can't just sidestep.
Yeah, exactly. King h8, rook takes f7. I was going to say the thing about g4 that's probably bad is that black has counterplay. That's why it loses. It's probably something with d3. And the thing is, you want to take and mate, but your attack is too slow. And so if you take... oh, actually, one funny thing is now I can take the rook, and I don't have the same attack. Because here, chat, how does black stop checkmate? Very good, f6. They're so good, Anna. They're so good.
I know. Congratulations, everyone. 5 head modes in the chat. Well done.
Very nice idea. Oh, queen g3 is much more refined. Much more refined from Wesley. Jeffrey, how's Jeffrey doing?
Yeah, I was gonna check on Jeffrey and then back to Hikaru for an update on the in this rook endgame, which is still a winning rook endgame, of course, but it's not an immediate win. Or maybe when I say not an immediate win, it's when Hikaru started pushing. But let's check Jeffrey first and then go back to Hikaru.
Sure. So Jeffrey, again, what's going to make this incredibly challenging for black to win is the fact that the pawn structure is completely the same. Just completely the same. Creating weaknesses, and g5 is a good move. He wants to play knight e6, knight g6, and hit the e5 pawn. g3, I would imagine, is coming. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so it's 2 minor pieces for the rook, which is material advantage when it comes to 3 plus 3 is 6, and the rook is about 5 points. But it's gonna be a long game. Hikaru's game doesn't seem to be that long anymore because black does have a deep pass pawn, but what Hikaru can do is just to push his kingside pawns, and if he has to, he'll give up the rook for the deep pawn. But for that, you need to advance your pawns first. And it's not so easy for black to even threaten with the promotion just yet. Okay, d2, then g5 or h6.
It's probably just winning. Yeah, like you're gonna sack, but because you have too many pawns, it's over. Yeah, just g5 is... yeah, just...
He took on d2 first and then pushed g5.
Okay, interesting. Ah, because there was rook e5 maybe.
Tricky. Yeah, he would have lost the g-pawn. Very nicely spotted. So this is the accurate move, or they're giving up the rook.
And it's over.
Willingly. Yeah, this is game over. The power of the pass pawns running against a rook while white is winning.
This win from Hikaru. He gets a big win over Ali Reza. It's like in the 960. And this is winning because rook is not powerful enough to stop connected pass pawns. Very impressive. Very, very nice win. And it's instructive too, because actually the whole strategy of his opening was to get this, and it worked. All planned from move 1. Hikaru, galaxy brain.
Absolute 10 head. It's not 5 head anymore. It's 10 head galaxy brain. You name it, but brilliantly done. This is a great start to the day for Hikaru. 2 more games will follow, so don't go anywhere because Hikaru has 2 more games to play. Next one will be against Sasha Thug Life Grieschuk, who still is playing his game against Jeffrey Shang, and Wesley has now a queen versus a rook and a bishop against Dominguez.
Yeah, Grieschuk and Shang are going to single-handedly delay our break. Gonna be figuring that one out for quite some time, but it's okay because then we don't have a very long break. Ilan Ye is he's busted up here He does have a pawn that's 2 squares away from becoming a queen, but his king has no shelter. And the bad thing for him is his pieces don't defend each other, which is super important in positions like this. Your pieces need to defend each other. So queen f6 is a very natural move. Would imagine there's something even better. Queen c6. See what happens here. 10 seconds remaining for Linnier.
Yeah, queen c6 to attack both the bishop and the pawn. d2, that's the only hope of Dominguez, this passed pawn.
Queen f6 is so natural. I would be shocked if there's... Maybe there's also e6, actually. I'm thinking like e6, queen f7, and then you're just in time. d2, queen f7, king h8, queen f6, fork, and you win the rook, and you stop promotion.
Yeah,
but
I think
e6,
that's a good plan.
What about e6, rook f8? Oh, then queen d3. Ah, you just take. Then you take
Yeah.
and
prevent back rank mate.
Power
This
popped
looks
in.
like, oh, e6. e6 indeed, as you predicted. And Hikaru in the chat, indeed. Congratulations, Hikaru. That was a great start. We did like a lot the execution, and the more Karakans, the better, right, Levy?
Not if they go like that. No, less Karakans if they go like that. Oh, this is nice. This is great geometry.
I mean, playing against Hikaru the Karakan. We want to encourage the participants to keep doing that.
Yes, please more Karakans against Hikaru. Yes, they seem to. Yeah, I'd like to see some more advanced variations. Yeah, queen c7. Really nice geometry here from Wesley. A series of checks, and the king cannot hide. Like I said, the pieces need to guard each other, or else this happens, and Wesley wins. All right, last game of the round.
Jeffrey versus Sasha Krishna, the next opponent of Hikaru. So basically, the longer this game goes, the better, because Sasha will be more tired and we get closer to the start of the game. There's a set schedule, so the next round will start at 1/4 past, still 20 minutes till the next round.
On g3. This is, again, gonna take forever, I think. Handily take forever.
Yeah, so once again, it's 2 minor pieces for the rook, and Grieschuk has managed to win one of the pawns of white. So now it's 2 pieces and a pawn, adding up to 7 points versus 5 that the rook represents. But there's very few material on the board, which makes it a bit more tedious to convert.
Just realized, Wesley So is also tied for first.
Oh.
There's sneaky.
Very sneaky. So Aronian went down against Magnus, which meant that Magnus is catching up with Levon, Aronian, and Wesley with his win against Dominguez. Yeah, indeed.
And in the next round, Nepo plays Jeffrey Shang, and Wesley plays Ali Reza. And those guys are 8th and 9th right now in the standings. And Hikaru plays Grieschuk. Wow. So a big moment there, because the guys that are doing well thus far, 4 games is a small sample size, but in any event like this, you start seeing early. Day 1, you can change it around to day 2, but it's difficult. Like, that is a mindset kind of a thing, to just show up and play a little bit better. So we'll see what happens.
Very true, very true. That Grieschuk has been playing well, I felt like, but he wasn't converting so well. Like that game yesterday against Aronian, that was a huge miss by Sasha when Aronian's king was dancing on d1 for the majority of the game. It just couldn't be good.
No, it couldn't, but Grieschuk was unable. Pounce? I was going to say pounce on Levon, but that doesn't sound too good. On the chessboard. Pounce on the chessboard. And Levon really, really persevered throughout that game. And then the king was actually the one leading the charge in the endgame, the most important piece.
Yeah, the most important. It was so bad in the middle game, but it was the piece that decided the endgame for Aronian, in favor of Aronian. Crazy. If you don't make that king in the middle of the board, it will end up being the hero of the game.
95! He blundered 95!
Okay, that makes the game shorter. a fork, and it's game over.
What?
Grieschuk with a better endgame, but wins in the end with a one-move fork, and will now face Hikaru next.
What? Oh my gosh, Jeffrey Shang just walks his king into the fork. That was not even. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, wow. Well, it was always going to be brutal, but it could have been another 30-40 moves. Instead, it is just one. Jeffrey resigns and is now in a 3-person tie for the last place spot. But it's very close, Anna. This could change around in the next few rounds. Let's take a short break. And when we return, we will introduce the pairings of round 5 and get the games underway.
Exactly. We have already announced one of the pairings. That is Hikaru facing Sasha Grieschuk. Thug Life it is.
Welcome back, everybody, to coverage of the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz here on the GM Hikaru channel. Anna, I hope your break was as good as mine. As I informed you, I was surprised with some pepperoni New York pizza. So, what did you do when we had some time away?
You're very lucky. It's not quite dinner time for me. I usually have dinner after the stream with Kevin, so I make it until the end of the stream with snacks like fruits, chocolate, but with the dentist appointments pending, I just go with fruits and brushing my teeth straight away. How about you, Levy?
Well, I do have that coming up later. The route. It's been a while since I went to any doctor's office, but yeah, with COVID, but that's coming up later today. I am excited. No, I'm not. I'm not scared though. I know a lot of people really don't like the dentist, well as scraping and whatnot, but gotta power through. I've got the pearly whites for the stream. You know what else is coming up? Round 5. So enough dentist talk. Let's talk about the pairings. What are we looking forward to this round?
Everything, but as we announced for Hikaru, this means Thug Life, full on. Sasha Grieschuk against Hikaru. That's the next round, pairing Grieschuk with the white pieces. Apart from that, in terms of the standings, what we were saying earlier is that Nepomniachtchi and Wesley So are now the leaders. Every round we have new leaders, so welcome to the new leaders, Nepomniachtchi and Wesley. Nepomniachtchi will be playing against Jeffrey Shang, and Wesley So has got the black pieces against, I can't now recall it, so I'm going to click on the other tab on my screen, Alireza Firouzja.
That's an interesting one, because they played against each other in the last round of Fisher Random, and Alireza won that game. He spoiled Wesley. I think Wesley losing to Alireza cost him a couple $1,000. So he's probably going to be wanting that back, like a mob boss. Give me back my money.
Exactly. Those of you asking us, why is he called Sasha? That's very common for Alexander or Alexandras as well in Russia to be called Sasha. That's an official nickname for Alexander.
Also, why is he called Thug Life? That's because of his interview answers, and he has a Thug Life compilation on YouTube. But as I said, my opinion on that video is that it's good. It's a well-made video. But I think we're too nerdy, Anna. I think we think things are funny, and the rest of the world is like,
Yeah, I was on my stream. That's what I did actually. I was gonna show the compilations, and I remember them as being very funny. But today, when I showed it on stream, I thought, yeah, like some of them are really funny, like the nap and what's in his plastic bag, and when he just says everyone plays so bad, or just describes how the tournament conditions were in Berlin and the candidates. But others are, I think, more for us about like something very specific chess reference, and then we laugh at it because we understand the opening he refers to or such, but it may not be as funny as we think it is for a general audience.
General audience, they're like, I don't think y'all quite understand what Thug Life means, but it's okay. We love Sasha. His interview answers are very to the point.
No,
very different. Very different than normal chess players, right?
Yeah, exactly. In one of the shots, basically, it was an interview with Mr. Ding and Sasha Grieschuk, and I was just thinking of what a difference when it comes to their personalities. The soft-spoken Ding Liren, who is always just very quiet, humble, and goes for the most respectful way of expressing himself. And then comes Sasha, who also, as I said on my stream, respect all the participants. So there's mutual respect between the players. It's more about Sasha and his honesty. He's very straightforward, and if he doesn't like the tournament conditions, he's gonna say it at the press conference. If he had to queue up for the toilet, he's gonna say it at the press conference. It's more about being just very bold and honest.
Ooh, question. Esports, when they're in big venues, I'm assuming the players have their own wings. It's just like it is in regular sporting events, so they all have their own restroom. But it has happened, guys, that at top-level over-the-board chess tournaments, there's been like 2 restrooms in the entire venue, and not one that's player-specific. So, first of all, it's a little bit strange to run into your competitors in the restroom. But second of all, it's weird to run into spectators. I mean, imagine it's like one of these tiny restrooms, because the venue doesn't have that many people usually. There's like 2 urinals in a stall or something, or I mean, it depends. On a ladies' room, it would be like it's crazy. Like it's terrible.
No, toilets are so crucial. Let's talk about toilets.
Well, we won't have to talk about toilets for too long because we do have games that are loaded in now. Where's Hikaru? Oh, there he is. Hikaru. Yay. We got Aronian, and we got Faruja, and so on, and so on. Okay.
We've got
Who do we put on the big screen first?
Hikaru. I mean, that's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's how we will start, and then I will put Magnus on the... Oh, we already have moves in some games. How...
Ooh.
One game. Put Magnus on the bottom. Actually... should we put on the bottom left? Yeah, Magnus.
I mean, he's some kind of a world champion, so why not?
A little bit overhyped in my opinion, but no. Magnus.
They're kidding, obviously. He's a 3 title holder. He holds the Blitz, the Rapid, and the Classical World Champions crown in his hands. So much respect to Magnus. He has beaten Levon Aronian, who was leading the tournament. So now he is a point behind Nepomniachtchi and Wesley. So Magnus Carlsen getting closer to that first place again.
By the way, Hikaru is going back to what worked for many months in these online events. He has played this system a lot. This very solid Queen's Gambit decline. This might not be the most interesting. Oh, whoa, what? Yeah, what? Eval bar disappeared. Sorry, guys, that was strange. Ooh. Eval bar is back. Eval bar doesn't take breaks. Stop it.
Shouldn't take breaks. That's such an important feature of the broadcast. I think everyone loves the eval bar. Can we get some hype in the chat for the eval bar? He's doing such a good job every single day for us. Sometimes it goes nuts with the ups and downs, especially during sub battles. But we love it. We love the eval bar overall. So get some support for the eval bar.
I know sometimes when we do sub battles, people are upset with me that I don't have the bar, and I'm like, guys, I'm sorry. I don't have it cropped. I added it for the 3-team sub battle because otherwise I would have been left out.
You didn't want to be the one streamer without the eval bar.
Exactly right. So Hikaru has played this kind of cramped setup a lot over the past months, and he has had relative success with it. By success, I mean he neutralizes the players who have the white pieces. And again, Hikaru has said it's a long event, so he's trying to be as practical as possible. You don't need to make every single game interesting and exciting and aggressive to play for a win. He's got black. Make the draw, be happy, conserve your energy, try to come out with the next game.
Yeah, that's a very logical approach. Most of the top players will go for the same approach. With the black pieces, you're happy if you get to equalize. Usually, that's what openings are about with the black pieces. Solid, wanting to balance out the fact that it's white who moves first. So that's a bit of a handicap, and therefore, most openings just aim to claim that you're back to equality fully. At 0-0-0 is a dream out of black's perspective.
And that's what black is aiming for in this system. You try to bring these pawns out, and you try to... Yeah, and there's queen c8, so oftentimes you'll play bishop 3, but your queen is able to... Wow, the eval bar is so bored of this position, the number has disappeared completely.
Ooh, Yeah, sometimes it does give up on us, the numbers at least, but the bar is there showing about, well, not exactly 50-50, but it's close to that middle line. It's close to it. White is somewhat better because of having more space, but this is still a theoretical line. So this is still opening preparation. You can see that Hikaru hasn't used any time. The players start on 25 minutes and he's got 25 because there's an increment, so he can collect time instead of using it.
Well, it's difficult to be Grieschuk in this case, because I don't know how much specific preparation he did for Hikaru. Maybe he was like, oh, maybe he'll play into this and decided to prepare something. But the thing is, when you've played this, I don't know when the last time Hikaru reviewed his notes is. He could be playing on information that's 2 months old.
Yeah. But he's confident about this opening line. As you said, he played it so many times also during the Magnus Carlsen tour. So he believes in this defense. It's a very solid approach. And yes, the tournament is long. This is not one of the most exciting positions, but it always will come to a turning point where the game starts to be unique. So even if a line is a very lengthy theoretical position, at some point in one moment, usually one of the players will deviate from the earlier games, and that's when we have game on.
I was not making. I don't know if you caught me making faces. I wasn't making faces at what you were saying. I'm gonna put these guys on the bottom left for now, because it's so solid, and we have seen this from Hikaru many times before. It's not going to be the most exciting game. Did Magnus Carlsen? Why is it doing that? Like, it's just, look at this. The eval bar keeps disappearing. Eval bar, what are you doing?
I don't know. It
Okay.
doesn't want to work today. It's
Uh,
only Wednesday, isn't it?
I don't understand. Magnus Carlsen played the Philidor defense.
Yes,
When?
correct.
When's the last time that what? I've never seen that from him. It's not a bad opening per se, but it's just extremely solid. I'm just so confused.
I'm confused too. Well, sometimes playing against top grandmasters but lower rated players than you needs to be handled in unique ways. And in this case, Magnus says, "I'm gonna go for a not so common opening, at least not one of his main repertoires. Definitely not main repertoire of Magnus, but it's a one game approach. I think he plays the Philidor in this game, but will not play it in the rest of his game. So he probably has prepared a couple of openings he can pull out in a game or two, but he will not be repeating it. Maybe not at all, or perhaps just once in the Blitz portion, for instance.
Anna, at the same time, what the heck is Knight B1?
Yeah, I mean, if this is the Philidor, we would all play the Philidor, right? Why is the knight going back to b1? Is a great question. What was wrong with somewhere more active, knight a4 or knight e2?
Because no matter where you move the knight, it has a future.
Yeah.
This is this. I mean, you're not gonna get out. Like, if Magnus plays a move like c5 or a5 or, I don't know, queen a5.
Hmm.
Queen a5 have like an inherent problem. I think at the end of the day, what's gonna happen here is that Linier has to play g4 and knight f5, g5, h4. He has to attack.
Yeah, definitely. It's castling opposite flanks, and that's always the story. Both players will aim for flank attacks and attack the opponent's king as quickly as possible, oftentimes not even minding if it comes with a price of a pawn or two, or even a piece sacrifice to crush through with the attack. But knight b1, it's so slow. You will then have to take another one or two moves to even make it out from the b1 square. You will have to move the queen away and then come back to d2. I don't understand it. Why knight b1?
Yeah, knight e2 with g4 and then bringing the knight that way strikes me as a little bit more natural. But okay, the guy's rated 27. What's he rated? Something high, some high rating. So, gotta just.
Yeah, former World Blitz champion Lenier Dominguez, number one player of Cuba, now representing the United States, working for Fabiano Caruana on his team for the World Championship cycle. So we can't really criticize his chess expertise, his skills, his knowledge, but we are puzzled by his decision here, why he went for the most passive out of the three options.
I'm perplexed. This whole game perplexes me. Okay, let's go around. Ali Reza. Ooh. This is a Petrov, right? With DC3 and long castles. It must be a Petrov defense. Oh, Wesley, don't be influenced by Fabiano. No. Petrov at this level is very good. Knight C3 is capture, and then white plays the bishop stack and tries to create an attack. This is like very classical, right?
Yeah, Wesley was also seen on camera with his cat. I wonder how many of the other participants are supported by an entire crew of pets. It's adorable.
That's pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
Unless the cat is rated like 2800 also, in which case that's not wholesome.
It's called Alpha Zero in a cat shape.
That is a fair play violation. That cat's just, telling him about the position. Actually, Wesley, I had this back in 2016.
Yeah.
How many of the players in the field strike you as cat people?
I don't know. It's a great question. I was also just thinking in general if they have pets, because what would be the normal life of a top chess player involves a lot of traveling, so it's not easy to even have a pet at home. But now this year 2020 has changed everything, so I wonder if they have. Most of them, I would think, they don't have a cat or a dog. Is Hikaru a cat or dog person, or both?
I don't know. This is the commentary we're really here for. Enough with the chess move. Yeah,
guys, is he a cat or dog person? This is a crucial debate. We need to discuss.
I can see Hikaru triggering chat at some point in the future and being like, I'm a tiger person, and then chat's like, what? So let's see. But yeah, probably dog.
He does have the Snoopy theme going on his channel, obviously. But yeah, this is an important topic. Of course, we'll need to discuss it with Hikaru when he joins us. And feel free to continue the conversation in the chat while we take a look at the position of Nepomniachtchi as well, who is another leader of the tournament, playing now against Jeffrey Shang.
Look at Zhang's game. And another game where the eval bar is trying to hide. Eval bar, you gotta relax. Oh, Alekine's defense. What? Jeffrey basically said, hey, I know you're gonna mess around. So he messed around first.
Yeah. I mean, it's a round of not so common or not so traditional openings. These are perfectly fine openings that we teach to our students or that the club players like to pick up. But on the very highest level, openings like the Philidor, even the Alekines, the Scandinavian, many of these are considered not optimal. So these aren't so common at the highest level of competition. Yet here we are in another one of those offbeat opening choices.
Jeffrey actually has a nice position. Makes me curious about exactly when the players left theory. Sure. I'm gonna check it. Is anything else interesting?
I'm still, of course, very focused on the cat versus dog conversation. And I've seen in the chat a great suggestion that the hedgehog could be a travel pet for chess players. I'm guessing you're referring to the hedgehog setup in the Sicilian. Good point. We do have some pets in chess openings too.
True. Very spiky, and it's quite like a hedgehog actually. Very correct name.
It's so cute. Yeah. Not easy to play, but they are very cute.
Like, what Jeffrey's done here with his pieces, but I am scared because he put the bishop on g7 amongst the pawns, and then he traded in the center, and now the bishop is gone, which is basically breaking every single rule that I think I knew. We'll see what he's able to figure out. In the game at the bottom, which was... who have we not looked at? We haven't looked at Levon versus Ari. This was the matchup of players who were in first place, right? Last round.
Yes, but they both lost in the previous round. They were leading the tournament earlier, you are right. And look which opening was back on the board.
What was it? Oh my god, it's the Carlsen again.
Yeah. Also, Levon Aronyan's flag seems like the Romanian flag. He's from Armenia. So this might be a little bit of a confused browser today. He is, of course, the #1 player of Armenia, considered a rock star back in his home country. Chess is a much respected sport in Armenia, and the president of the country is a huge fan of chess.
That's really cool.
I know. Yeah, he took his private jet to go to the prize ceremony of the Olympiad.
Really?
I think so. And then the team was flown back with the presidential jet, and the crowd of people were waiting for them. That's what I heard.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's not a Pog-O. You're like the pride of the country, and the country celebrates your achievement. Come on, that's... I mean, I think that can just be cool. I don't think...
Yeah, no, it is really cool, and I hope that more and more players will be treated that way. Maybe esports is not a new direction, and chanting TSM, TSM to get more recognition for chess outside the chess community too.
So there was no h4 actually. Levon played this queen thing, but in the other position we saw h4, h5, which does not exist in this position. I was always under the impression that this is just, oh my god, queen d1. What?
I mean, yes.
Is this normal? This is not... weird.
You're the Karkan expert, so I'm waiting for your conclusions here. Ready to learn.
No. This is not the most critical approach from Levon. I've never actually seen it get played like this. I've never seen anyone play knight e2 and queen d1. I gotta check the theoretical status of this. I'm gonna go full Dorothy Ann from Magic School Bus. According to my research, we get e6, knight e2 is the main line. Yeah, queen d1 has never been played before on move 8. Amazing. Novelty.
A novelty. The question is, was it a prepared novelty? Was it inspiration over the board? Is it any good?
This is what I love. Like, these openings that aren't played a lot at top level, Anna, like the Carlsen, all these different wrinkles and weapons. Do you think these guys just have this stored up waiting to uncork it? Because that's pretty cool and also scary.
Yeah, because they do study a lot of chess in between tournaments. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, and maybe some of these were kept for the bigger tournaments. $250,000 is at stake, so this is not just a easy rapid tournament. No, this is high stakes, top level chess.
Yeah, you know who seems like they're not taking this too seriously? Nepo, who is lost on move 12.
What? Lost on move 12 with the white pieces. What is the king doing on e2?
I don't know, but he took on b7. And Jeffrey played knight b4, and And just castles. What a gangster move. Castling out of check. So now with bishop c6, there is no check, so you're not losing the rook. And black can play like rook b8 and then take. And probably not even take. Probably just play like bishop c4. I would imagine that bishop c4... This is not okay.
I mean, this looks horrible for Nepomniachtchi. Let's remind everyone that Jeffrey was very brave in the opening stage and chose the Alekhines defense, which is not a very common choice at the top grandmaster level. So kudos to Jeffrey for going for something that Nepomniachtchi didn't expect. It doesn't mean that Nepomniachtchi doesn't know how to handle the Alekhine, but maybe he just went too aggressive. He wanted to prove his point that he's better in the opening, and he wasn't. This is now a disaster.
This is a disaster, but you know, I should say that black probably should not take on a1. If you take on a1 here, then I think this is actually the least concerning thing for white. White will try to develop these pieces and try to be okay. I actually think that for black it's better to play moves like rook b8, knight d4, bishop c4, some queen move to get in, and use the fact that the king is so weak rather than just go, I want this rook! Because the rook's never moving. It's just, it will never have time to move. Leave it. In fact, Anna, bishop c4, king f3, queen d3, doesn't this lead to king f4? Because if you play bishop e3, isn't there a mate? Oh no, there is no mate.
I know. I mean, you would win in King of the Hill. Almost. If it was King of the Hill on chess.com, have you guys tried King of the Hill, by the way? White is almost winning, but this is traditional chess, so let's just forget about the king march. Only issue for Nepo, there's no way back. There's just no way back from here.
Yeah, I know that playing the move king e2, we have the bomb cloud. But
it's not like Hikaru's game though. Yeah, it's not Hikaru.
Like the bomb cloud has a good vibe, you know? It has a good vibe. Like when you play the bomb cloud, it's like you chill, you know, it's like a little bit funny and like, you know, you try to consolidate. This is like I don't want to insult the bomb cloud by calling this the delayed bomb cloud. This is like this is more like, what the hell are you doing, cloud? This is not chill at all. This is a bad high of a bomb cloud. Let's put it that way. All right, back to
I fully agree with you, and it's very rare to see top grandmasters being in a lost position with the white pieces after only 10 moves. This is
impressive.
Curtains, yeah, impressive, and the disaster. I don't know what has happened. Of course, Nepomniachtchi has a lot of time on his clock because that's always the case. Whether he's doing well or whether he's doing terrible, he always plays fast.
This reminds me of the game that he had against Anish Giri in one of their recent rapid games, where he had a king in the center and played the move king e2 in a Sicilian. But at least in that game, he had a bunch of pawns and the d file was closed and there was a lot more moves. And okay, I'm leaving. Sorry. Let's look at Hikaru. We haven't looked at that game in a while. Let's.
I was just gonna say about Nepomniachtchi's position is that it's so bad that even if his king doesn't get mated, the rook on a1 is hanging and trapped. So black basically could just say, I play rook b8, then I capture the rook. Black is material up and the king is still on e2. So you don't even have to find the most precise line here. It's just plain bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look pleasant at all. I'm going to put that game on the bottom left. It might be our first decisive game of the round. So Nepo is so weird. Like last game, done. Oh, that was a really good, that was a good clap. Wow.
I liked it. Was that a sound effect or did you actually do it?
No, that was like my hands.
I mean,
I don't have the stream deck.
We need the stream deck.
Yeah, that
maybe
is
for the next coverage.
Guys, I think this position says less about Hikaru playing fast and more that it's Grieschuk. This is just Grieschuk. Grieschuk playing into a super solid variation that Hikaru has played like 50 times in the last 3 months, and he's down 11 minutes. It's like he's just running brute force into a brick wall, and he's like, all right, let's fight.
Yeah.
And the brick wall's like, okay. See what you got.
No, it's true that Hikaru is very confident in this opening, and Grieschuk always goes down on time. It's his trademark, basically. Time pressure is a friend of his. He would feel a little um, alienated to the game, I guess, if it wasn't for having almost no time on the clock. Somehow he always gets into time trouble. It doesn't really matter what time control is the game.
You're right, and it's really strange.
Yeah. It's as
just
if he was addicted to time travel. Not that it's easy to get out of it. So I also used to spend way too much time when I competed. I'm a perfectionist, and I was always trying to find the perfect move, the best move in every position. But when you do that, you end up being low on time at the very end of the game. Maybe you have a better position, but you don't have time anymore to find the right moves. So being practical at chess is actually something that people should get used to, and I had to try to learn it, but it's not as simple as saying it.
Having said that, it is a pretty complicated position. Grieschuk is trying to pressure Hikaru on this side of the board, and the queen is serving the defensive purposes of the rooks. If white were to play c takes b6 at this point, that is giving up the knight, but there is some chances with b7. Maybe black doesn't even have to do that, just plays rook b6. This guards this, this guards this. Everything in the position makes sense. Grieschuk has played a move. He has played c takes b6. The problem for Hikaru is that his time advantage is, even though it's significant, it's too solid of a position. So
Yeah, very solid position, but he has no issues. This is a defense that, as we said, is usually to aim to equalize the position as black. Although, like now that he has equalized, can he aim for more after rook takes b6? Where does that queen go? Does it go to
f1, e2, somewhere back. Anna,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
someone said that on move 17, Grieschuk could have played knight takes d.
Oh, knight
Now,
takes d5.
that is fascinating. So rook takes queen,
Yeah.
knight takes bishop check, king f8, knight takes rook, queen takes rook. And then if you take c6 and I take, do you have cb6 there?
Yeah, you can either take first on c6 or first on b6, but there's something there with the captures. That would have been crazy though. A queen sacrifice with knight takes d5. And all you have for it is basically a rook at the moment.
So the way I played it apparently is not the accurate way. I'll give you guys the recommendation of the machine. It wants to not take the pawns. It wants to play knight e1, which hits the rook. And then if you move your rook down, then all of this is good because there is no back rank checkmate. So knight e1 gains a tempo on the rook and covers the back rank, whereas if you don't include knight e1, Anna, and you play bc6, queen c6, cb6, you know what move the computer recommends after c takes b6?
What?
Rook b3.
All right.
Because if you
chess is easy.
I don't know how these guys missed that. It is absurd. No, okay, I'm gonna stop. That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
The computer is such. It's like if we show this to Hikaru, we already know his reactions.
We should definitely. I don't think either of the players noticed that possibility, but it's a fun one. Thank you for pointing it out. It's of course an amusing line, but definitely not for the human eye. We'll talk about it with Hikaru, have his reactions on it, so stay tuned for that. That's coming up later. But for now, Hikaru's position is solid. If anyone can he? No, it's just very solid. I was gonna think if he can take the upper hand or have the initiative here, but it's just too solid.
Got my wires tangled. That was exciting. Headphone dropped in, tried to trip me up. Yeah, Hikaru's got a little bit of pressure here, but at the end of the day, it's a very solid structure. He could try to play for a win, but I feel like Hikaru also would just respect like Sasha. I mean, he's not gonna try to, try to beat him in a totally symmetrical position. You give Sasha 2 minutes here, okay, maybe we can talk, but very solid. Any other interesting games? Ooh, Ferrugia Wesley is heating up.
Oh, let me tune in because I haven't looked at that position for a while. Ooh, Wesley, after bishop f5 is black to move. He can't really take on g5 because that will come with a price. You win a piece, but h takes g5, opens up the h file, chases the f6 defender away, and then the king is left alone with an open h file and 3 attacking pieces looking at it.
Not recommended. Definitely not recommended. Don't play chess like that. That's too brave.
Way too brave. At the same time, the bishop on g5 is stuck, so he could just ignore that piece for now and follow up with something on the queen side. What is the best way to go here?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like bishop takes f3, although bishop takes f3 could run into gf, which is a counterintuitive capture. Normally we take with the queen, but all of a sudden you play rook g1 and you use the open g file. So bishop takes f3, gf doesn't look so appealing. What's no pun intended, Wesley. And Ferrugia is flagless, not because he doesn't live on Earth and we don't have a flag for him, but because he actually doesn't yet have a federation. He did I don't know if defect is the right word, but that might be the right word, from Iran, and I think he's currently living in France, unless that's been updated. But the process to transfer your federation is not so simple. It's not just the French Federation goes, oh, he's ours now. FIDE has rules and so on.
Hikaru's game has finished and it's a draw, which is a natural result in this symmetrical position. Good score because, as Levi said at the very beginning of the opening, basically Hikaru played a very solid defense that he's confident to play. He has repeated it multiple times. And with the black pieces, usually you just want to equalize and go for the next game. This is a long event, 5 days altogether. 18 Blitz games will follow after the Rapid, so there's a lot more to come. In terms of who is leading now, we were talking about how every round the leaderboard was changing.
Yeah.
So our current leaders are Jan Nepomniachtchi and Wesley. So Jan Nepomniachtchi is completely lost against Jeffrey Shang. And Wesley's position we have just looked at, it's still very complex.
I would love to see Hikaru pop into the chat and write his one-liner about his game. But more importantly, I want to see what he's going to have to say about Nepo. This round, we might have a lot of decisive results. The only game that's not yet completely decisive, although apparently Aronian has a very nice position, is the game between Aronian and Hare Krishna. And I had a few viewers from Russia on my YouTube recap who were very upset that I don't pronounce Levon's name the right way. Wanted me to say Levon Aranyan, because you're not supposed to say the I. It's like you use the I and the A, Aranyan.
Yes. Yeah, and the emphasis on the last syllable in Armenian surnames. But I think we are just so used to saying all the surnames with the English or American pronunciation that I do the same if it's even a Hungarian name. I will not try to say it the Hungarian way, and I know the language still a little bit. So I guess it's just that in an English sentence, you don't just switch to a different language's pronunciation.
Yeah, it's tough to appeal to everyone, because if I say it a certain way, someone's gonna be like, "Why are you saying it that way?" So I'm gonna call him Levon Aronian, and I do know that you are supposed to say Aranyan, but I don't want to confuse folks.
Makes perfect sense. Sense.
Hikaru said that he hasn't seen Nepo's game. So, Hikaru,
you ready for this?
Well, first of all, this is the position. Oh, actually, this position looks more or less normal. I'm gonna put...
Because...
But here we go, Hikaru. You ready? All right. Hikaru says, white just castles, huh?
Yeah.
Why just castles? Why just castles? Why ain't castling? No! No! Ain't nobody castling today! Well, Jeffrey Shang is castling. Yeah, we don't know, Hikaru, what's going on here. We are confused.
Very confused, but yeah, Nepomniachtchi wishes he could steal castle. It's not an option.
Yeah, this is not. Yeah, I was gonna say if White could castle here, yeah, White's chilling. White just, I can't do it. Look, it won't let me. It's not working. Yeah, once you move it, I'm. Yeah, Hikaru, we also were discussing whether you would be a cat or a dog person, as well as the rest of the field.
Very important question. Yeah. Feel free to discuss further. This is for our viewers too, because we've been delving into the depths of pets and professional chess players. And many of the players would even have pets, since we have seen Wesley so supported by his cat in between games. Hikaru is a dog person, Chessbase saying. Oh, the Snoopy theme. I mean, I thought that was giving it away, the Snoopy theme.
You know, this game, this is like Jeffrey Shang is playing the way Aaron Asham fights. Like Aaron Asham, like hockey fights are fun to watch, and when Aaron Asham won a hockey fight, he would skate away and go like, "That's it," and that's what Jeffrey just did with this last move. Bishop h6 attacking the rook, and Jeffrey says, "Take it. I don't care if you take my rook. I bring in my queen." With queen takes g2, and it's over. You can't castle, rook f1, I don't know, man. Here. Wow, what a game.
And Hikaru did respond to the very important cat
Dog?
versus dog topic too. He said, real people have a nice big dog, like a lab, an Aussie Shepherd, etc.
Yep.
There you go, we have the answer. You have the answer.
I agree. I think that small dogs are oversized rats. No disrespect to small dogs. But massive disrespect to small dogs.
Disclaimer, no disrespect, but...
But and I've seen some rats. All right, I'm from New York City. I got a damn PhD on what rats look like. But no, there was a... It's funny. I think Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is just so funny. So many. I can tie so many quotes to him. He's like, no disrespect, but massive disrespect to this franchise. Big dogs are the only dogs as far as I'm concerned.
I like smaller ones too when it comes to pugs and French bulldogs, but they're just my own opinion. It's okay not to agree with me.
Oh, I mean,
okay.
Let's put it this way: it's my opinion, but it doesn't extend to others. Like we all have to learn to keep our opinions more or less to ourselves. So, and an opinion like this one, if you like small dogs, like by all means. As far as my framework, small dog is big rat.
How small though? Because like they're medium-sized dogs too. But yeah, maybe we should go back to the game before we offend everyone.
No. I mean, listen, if any Chihuahuas are watching, I'm really sorry. If we want to get a sponsorship from a Chihuahua, any companies that have a logo with Chihuahua is just not. I mean, that's like a terrifying small. That's a big rat, right? No,
I have a friend with a Chihuahua. So I can't go into this deep conversation.
Okay, but I'm not a big fan of those dogs. Okay. Perugia Wesley's a draw.
Okay. That was a little unexpected, but they repeated moves. So just the position when we were saying this is complex, basically Wesley decided to go for knight h5, then jump back to f6, and they repeated moves. Threefold repetition. And Nepomniachtchi has already lost. The final position is, if only he could castle.
Yeah, Jeffrey wins, and it would be nice to get more wins like that. I feel like Jeffrey just played a guy who's like top 5 in the world. And it felt like Jeffrey was giving a simul at his local chess club. Like, Nepo is the 4th highest rated chess player in classical chess in the world.
Yes, 4th highest. But in this game, he did play, like, as many of you guys mentioned, PogChamp's vibes. Something went wrong. Something went totally wrong, and there was the king dancing in the middle of the board. Definitely looked more like PogChamp's and a lot less like an elite chess tournament when it comes to the top grandmasters facing off against each other. So I don't know what went wrong for Nepomniachtchi. We'll need to listen to his interview later on in the official broadcast as preparation. But
yeah, Wesley, with the draw moves to 7. So 7 out of a possible 10. He's playing well. 2 wins, 3 draws so far on +2. As we say in chess, that's how many more wins you have than losses. And he has no losses. He has 2 wins. So he's +2. Nepo, meanwhile, is on +1. I believe he's on +1. Yeah. Magnus with a win in this game will move into a tie for first. And Levon with a win in this game will move into a tie for first through third, 7-7-7.
Magnus's position does look promising. I was just laughing to myself earlier because I did see a suggestion in the chat for Hikaru to make a dog tier list, since he has done his opening tier list and such. A dog tier list, maybe, who knows? You guys can suggest it, of course, for future streams. But I do like the queenside attack that Magnus Carlsen is building up with the b4 and a4 pawns ready to be pushed to b3 and a3. He plays knight d7, which is a logical maneuver. You want to have the bishop on f6 on the long diagonal, and the knight could come to e5 or go toward the queenside with b6. But for now, the bishop on f6 will be a powerful piece.
It's a super fascinating position, and I think that Magnus chose a very good system to play against Lenier, because Lenier is extremely solid. I've been saying this throughout. In fact, Hikaru has sort of run into this issue where Lenier just like doesn't. It's not that he doesn't do anything. He just like he's got a playing style, and that's the way he likes to play the game. So and we got a raid. I'm so sorry. I guess I had notice. Yo, shout out to Wardell. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Missed that.
Thank you for the
Welcome,
support.
guys.
And yeah, this is not Hikaru just yet. He'll be joining us soon, but he's competing at another high-stakes tournament. $250,000 at stake. Hikaru will play one more game today, and then he joins us on a call to tell us about his today's games, and then he'll be streaming here on this very channel, of course, himself. We are looking at the World Champions game. Magnus Carlsen is also in the field, and he has a very promising position here with the black pieces.
If anybody's curious, and I think you guys were just watching Valorant, there's not gonna be too much of that going on. Chess, this is like the first year that chess is becoming this big online phenomenon. So players from all over the world, we got Norway, India, Armenia, Russia, all represented. Obviously the United States, some of the top US players are competing. $250,000 are at stake. Valorant people, what's the highest prize fund that we've had in a big Valorant tournament? Let us know. We want to compete. We want to like try to beat it. If they say $1 million, Anna, I'm gonna be pissed because we're not gonna get that high just yet.
Yeah, well, the Magnus Tour did have $1 million altogether, so combined. But in one single event, that would be a lot at chess. The World Chess Championship had $1 million at stake between the two players.
Yeah, it's crazy. I always say this, that winning the highest pinnacle in chess gets you like, a standard salary of like, what is it? Like, don't you get like 900,000 for being a bench warmer in like some sports? Literally just sitting there, being like, oh, go team! $1 million salary. Oh, and Hikaru's in the chat. Yeah, Hikaru's round already finished. So he's hanging out with us here, waiting for his next game. There's nothing really that you can do. You just gotta wait for the next round. But Hikaru does know who he's playing next, and forward to that matchup. Hikaru's next game will begin at when, Anna? 4:30 Eastern, so in 33 minutes, yeah?
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. In the standings at the bottom left, everybody, that's the current situation. However, Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian, the 3rd and 4th place guys, are currently in the middle of a game. Not against each other, but separate boards.
I'm also just peeking into the next round's pairings. That will be today's last round. Once these games are over, Hikaru will have the white pieces against Jan Nepomniachtchi. That Nepomniachtchi, the very same Nepomniachtchi who had his king dancing on e2 today, delayed Bomb Cloud or not, it wasn't the best strategy against the youngest participant, I must say. No, actually not youngest, second youngest. I keep forgetting that Alireza is 3 years younger than Jeffrey. Jeffrey for me is forever under 18, but no, Jeffrey is 20 years old. Firouzja is only 17.
Yeah, Farusha, what records has he set thus far? The prodigy from Iran, currently living in France.
Everything. Highest rated junior player, but also when it comes to breaking the 2700 rating barrier. He's just the highest rated junior out there, and he's only 17, so he still has a couple of more years as junior. He's crazy strong, but he's not that used to these super tournaments just yet. He hasn't had so many opportunities. He did win his match against Magnus Carlsen in the Banter Blitz Cup finals. So that was one of his biggest achievements when facing Magnus, and he competed in Weikanze this January.
How did he do in white? Didn't he start well?
I think he did. I don't remember his score, but from what I remember, he did well, and that was his first Group A Weikanze participation.
He started well, and then it kind of trailed off a little bit toward the end. But I remember he had a very rough middle of the tournament. He had to play against Magnus, Bobby, right? Aronian, those guys. Yeah. So, and then yeah, obviously losing 3 games is, well, against those guys. Not Aronian. No, I think he had to play Anand. And so he had a rough stretch there where he had to play some of the best in the world. Linier's last move, bishop takes d4. Mm-hmm. Not looking great. Doesn't look great. And also 8 minutes versus 2. Slow. Same thing with Hikaru. He had this problem.
Exactly. He really gets into time trouble. At the same time, a reminder, he did win the World Blitz Championship. Blitz meaning 5-minute games back in 2008. So he is a speedy player when it comes to shorter time controls. But in Rapid, I think Rapid is the most difficult time control in general, because at the beginning you do have plenty of time still to think, but how do you divide that time to not end up playing it as a bullet game in the end?
Exactly. I don't know, and well, this is just looking a little bit too dangerous now for Magnus. Sorry, not for Magnus, for Linier. It's definitely not looking dangerous for Magnus. I mean, I see a queen and a rook lined up here to g7, but we are not going to get checkmated. There's not going to be checkmate. This bishop on f6 too strong. These pawns are like about to start throwing rocks at the window. Is what's about to happen.
It does feel like that. I'm just waiting for the moment for those pushes, the pawn pushes to happen. Is it right now? b3 seems to be the most appealing, because that forces white to trade at least a pawn. So the position will open up, and that's what you want. With flank openings, b3 is just happening indeed. There's no way you can prevent the opening of the b file or a file, because one of the pawns will be taken. The c and the a pawns cannot move at the same time. King b1 is the choice of Dominguez. So now, for instance, if Magnus wants, he can take on c2 or a2 and open up the b5 for his heavy pieces.
Or even play the ultra flashy but potentially bad move a3. I don't actually know if it's any good, but you just put both pawns there and just be like, take one, I dare you.
It is flashy. It may be something to consider, and then go for the exchange sacrifice if knight takes. It's something to have in mind, but Magnus can also just prepare the position, play, for instance, queen to c7, bring a rook to b8, and then go for something concrete.
That looks so brutal. I get the queen, the rook, the other rook all playing. But I do hope it goes a little bit longer, because we have 28 minutes till the next game begins. And
The great thing about Magnus's position too is that the f6 bishop single-handedly takes care of the defense of the king side. So Magnus doesn't even need the rest of his pieces to be protecting, guarding the king on h8. He can just have the bishop there protecting g7, and the rest of the pieces can go and attack on the queen side. Because white does have the queen on g2 and the rook on g1 pointing at the g7 square, but the bishop takes control of that one crucial spot in black's camp, and there's no other target.
Yeah, I mean, b takes c2. B takes c2 is definitely correct. I think this is good. And clocks freeze there for a second. Oh. Okay. Why did the clocks decide to freeze? Clocks? Hello? You?
They're
back,
although they are freezing again.
Mine are good now. I don't know. I refreshed.
Yeah, I might need to refresh too. Disappeared for a moment, but
indeed.
Yeah, now just rook b8, the choice of Magnus, very logical. And later he can aim to push a3, sometimes even d3.
It's super unpleasant, and it's even worse to deal with 40 seconds. That's what makes this really hard.
I'm just gonna take a look at the Aronian game as well for a moment in case something is happening. A queen trade has just happened, making the position more balanced, although a pawn is missing from Hari Krishna's position, but he's compensating for it with this powerful bishop. It looks like hanging on d4, but careful. It's a back rank checkmate. If white takes the bishop on d4, then rook f1 is mate in 1.
Takes d4 and rook f1 is a problem. Okay. Lots of people. Oh, we're having a little bit of a battle there in chat. Come on, Aronian. Come on, Harry. People cheering. Guys, who we got? We got Aronian or Hari Krishna? What are we thinking?
These two players, as Levi mentioned earlier, were the leaders of the tournament a round ago, but they both lost their previous games, which is insane.
Yeah, they really had a great first day. But if... Well, I guess Aronian... The problem is that if Aronian wins this game, it's Hari who has 2 losses. If Hari wins this game, then it's Aronian that has 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to lose 2 games for sure. Magnus was the win. Magnus is also probably playing... on the clock of Lenier, because Lenier only has 40 seconds.
Yeah, that's an issue. Time management. And Lenier Dominguez, as much as he is a great blitz player, this is a rapid format, meaning that Magnus has 3 times more time almost. My maths is terrible, but it's a lot of time advantage. a3 does chase the rook away that has just been placed on b4.
People are saying mouselip, but how does that make any sense, people? Rook b4 was obviously not a mouselip.
No, that was with a clear intention. And now he gets the b3 square, so a3 does have its consequences, weakening the b3 square.
Wasn't going rook b3. Okay, he just backs up.
And now, what is the follow-up for Dominguez? If he had a way to somehow get to the f6 bishop, but that would mean he needs his knight on d5, and he cannot get there. There's no route for the knight from c4 to make it to d5.
Okay, this is very practical now from Lenier. I mean, the bishop is the only piece defending. So he plays e5.
Oh. Now that is practical indeed, because Magnus cannot take on e5 with the bishop. That will lead to knight takes and mate on g7. So Magnus will need to sacrifice an exchange with rook takes e5 to preserve the bishop.
Because if bishop g5, there was something else like knight d6. Okay, we get bishop d3. Oh man, Linier's trying to stabilize, and the more pieces that come off, the harder it's going to be to win this.
Yeah, we were saying how his position was desperate, but it does seem that he managed to use the very right moment to push e5. Also, in hindsight, of course, it's gonna mean that Magnus's rook b4, rook b3 idea wasn't the most accurate.
Yeah, I guess the bait of making white play a3 wasn't great, because now Linier is completely fine. The bishop is blocked, and
he lost time to weaken the pawn structure of white on the queen side. So he wanted to provoke a3, but it took him time, and that time was used by Dominguez for the e5 push. This is now wide open. It could be still 3 possible results, shall we say that? Definitely way messier than before.
Magnus down to about 90 seconds now. Just quickly popping into this game. Levon is equal. Levon had a slightly better position, but looks like he is headed for a draw. Probably the decisive game is going to be the Magnus game. I feel like this is the game that will not have a peaceful resolution.
No, it will not. This position is looking once again like the kind of endgames that Aronian converts fairly easily. After king takes e7, will he... Oh, okay, not king takes e7, but rook takes h2 by Hare Krishna, because after king takes knight f3 fork, but...
Oh, so he's getting it into an endgame where it's going to be knight and 3 pawns or 2 versus 2 knights and 1 pawn, and he's saying that if I sacrifice the knight for the pawn, it's a draw because you can't beat me with 2 knights.
All right, well that's a practical decision to take, but can he get rid of the g pawn of white?
Also looks like Linier made a big blunder, which Magnus didn't even take advantage of. I don't know what chat was yelling about, and it looks like Linier has just lost the game again. But
what?
What? Why? Why? Take. Why? What? Oh, rook takes b2 and d3? No, but then... Oh my... Oh, and then queen b3.
Oh, it's happening. So the rook couldn't take on b2 because the queen on e4 would have been hanging, and now d3 check, discover check.
Oh, I did say it's a brutal position to defend. Yeah, so a combination of these ideas. You don't take the rook. That's not really what you're doing. But you play something like queen c5, maybe. And that is game over. Also, you can maybe play bishop g5, king b2, and queen b3, but he just plays queen c5. I think bishop g5 actually might have been more brutal. Okay. Ouch.
This is a beautiful finish regardless. Rook takes b2 by the world champion to finish off the game. It was a nicely executed attack on the queen side. He may have played a few inaccurate moves somewhere in between, but now after king f1, queen takes d1, black picks up everything, and if the queen takes the bishop, it's queen takes e2, checkmate.
Yeah, and it's over. And Magnus Carlsen with a very convincing... I mean, he had a slip up or two there in the conversion process. I know chat was saying, oh, he blundered, but for the most part, that victory was smooth sailing, and now Magnus Carlsen atop the leaderboard with 2 big wins. Magnus having the most decisive games, 3 wins, 1 loss, and that loss coming by disconnect.
Yeah, how does that feel? He had a slightly better position when he disconnected.
Here Levon is trying to... Whoa, he got this knight trapped. Wait a second. Fun.
Yeah, that is the case.
Can Levon swindle this somehow? So, if Levon gets the knight to h4, and... Okay, maybe not. But if he gets this knight out and keeps his g-pawn, he's winning. So, oh, knight f1? Hello? Or not?
It did feel like the moment to play Knight F1.
You know, there is this really wacky endgame, 2 knights versus 1 pawn. And so 2 knights versus a king is impossible to win as long as the guy doesn't run the king to the corner and get checkmated. But 2 knights versus 1 pawn, Anna, right? Like, there's this trick. The trick of, like, stalemating the king, but then letting the pawn go, and then checkmating as the pawn tries to run to become a queen. It's super rare. I've seen it happen, like, once, ever.
Yeah, in a practical game, no. In endgame studies, yeah, that's very common to ponder when the 2 knights can checkmate versus a king and a pawn. But will we get to see it in this game? I mean, that would be unique.
I highly doubt it, but maybe. I'm not even sure what the exact rule is, where the pawn has to be. Okay, it's just a draw. Enough. It's just a draw. It is official. I'm going to update the scoreboard, or is somebody going to beat me to doing that? Let's see, I'm going to try to update the scoreboard first. I'm going to win the race. It's going to be me. Hare Krishna versus Aronian is a draw, which means the overall standing is 7-7, 6-6. And in the final round of the day, we will see Hikaru going up against Jan Nepomniachtchi, which is big. That's a matchup between 5 points and 6 points, and can determine who is in a very solid position of second place to potentially take the lead tomorrow. Any final thoughts, Anna, before we take a break?
You are being informed that it did happen. The 2 knight versus pawn and king happened in Karyakin's game against Sam Savian, but yes, luckily for us, it wasn't the case here. Final thoughts is that we have 1 more round to go, and then Hikaru will join us, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody, to our coverage of the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. Today is the second day of the Rapid portion. It is the last round of the day, beginning in 4 minutes. And, well, I think we've had a pretty good day so far. Not just for Hikaru, and I feel like overall the games have been exciting.
Very exciting rounds, ups and downs in games that we didn't expect. The leaders of the tournament have been constantly changing, and we are now ready. In a few minutes, we are now ready for the final game of the day. Not final game of the tournament. Reminder, this is day 2. There are 5 days in total Rapid, and then Blitz. 18 Blitz games will follow after the 9 Rapid games.
That's exactly right. We've been talking about Hikaru's next round, but let me just pull up the next round, the round 6 pairings for everybody to see. We've got Magnus Carlsen taking on Pentala Hare Krishna, who just held a tough game against Levon Aronian, and he is tied for second. I believe Pentala has 6 points. We also have Jeffrey Shang, who just got a very convincing but very odd win over Nepo, playing against Levon Aronian. So Jeffrey versus Levon, and Hikaru versus Jan. So a lot of fighting at the very top of the bracket. I mean, I know that Zhang right now is on 8th place, but a win up to 3rd. Up to 3rd he goes. Depending on how the other results go, he might be in 4th. Man, okay. Any predictions?
It's just crazy how because of how everyone has dropped points, the field is still wide open. There's no one that has taken a huge lead. There's no one that's too far behind. So because of the fact that this is Rapid and then Blitz combined, anyone still has a chance. But in terms of predictions, I'm predicting a fun last game for sure for Hikaru, and I wonder if Nepomniachtchi can just forget what has just happened in his previous game, because psychology in chess is crucial, and Nepomniachtchi played a really bad game, a terrible one, against Jeffrey Shang.
I feel like Nepo's a little bit odd in that sense. His playing style can lead to inconsistency, and we've heard if anybody say anything about his play and to that level, he's a brilliant player, but he definitely struggles with consistency on a game-to-game basis. He won a really good game to start the day, and then this disaster in the second round. But I think Nepo's problem even beyond that, which has been talked about by Hikaru, who has played him many times, is he can also tilt. And it's a shame that when you win, you don't just also build up a streak. You don't just get hot, like in basketball. You get hot, make a But in chess, it's much easier to tilt, right, Anna? Like winning 8 games in a row, it's like but losing 8 games, 4 games or 3 games or even 2 games, a lot simpler sometimes. It feels like.
Yeah, it does feel like the lows are very low sometimes, but these are the best players in the world, some of the top players. So they, I think, are used to having this issue, and they all try in their very own ways to have some kind of a recipe against it to stop the bleeding, stop the tilt. I agree that Nepomniachtchi is one of those players that may struggle a little more with this for his personality, and it's difficult for everybody, of course. But yeah, we shall see. I am looking at the board right now, and we do have the Sicilian already on the board.
Was super like a move order nuance, a sideline. Actually, at the bottom left, Hari for the 3rd game in a row is debuting the Caro-Kann. Well, not debuting, but he's putting the Caro-Kann on the board. Bless up, brother. Thank you, Hari. Fight the good fight. It might not go so well. And actually, that one's funny, Anna, because Magnus played the Caro versus Hikaru. And now Hari is playing the Caro versus Magnus.
Yeah, Hari Krishna is one of the brand ambassadors of the Caro-Kann among the elite players. So I think he just sticks to his favorite opening, so to say. But I'm happy to see that Magnus is thinking how to approach the Caro-Kann in this game.
Just goes to show you, it's such a good opening. World champion doesn't even know what to do. He forgot his theory. No, the thing is that there's a lot of interesting options. And he's probably just deciding which of the interesting options he wants to go for. Meanwhile, the Hikaru game has become a Najdorf Sicilian with the inclusion of a4, knight c6, and h3. Like a weird sideline of the Sicilian.
Yes, interesting how the move order has made this to be similar to the main lines, yet there's the inclusion of the bishop move to d7 and the pawn being on a4.
And thank you guys for pointing out that the clocks are broken for whatever reason. Wouldn't be a chess show if something didn't go ever so slightly wrong. Hari's doing my opening proud.
Well, we hope that the clock situation will be back in terms of functionality at the time they'll start ticking. I do see now Hikaru's clock moving as well. He was playing the opening moves very quick, so maybe that's why the clock broke. Decided that Hikaru is way too fast to even keep track with. The current position is a typical Sicilian, even if it didn't start with the most natural move order, and it is not one of the main lines, but the structure itself is typical when of course in the Sicilian, black always has a semi-open c file. You may or may not develop the bishop to the long diagonal as in the dragon, so did Nepomniachtchi do, and the white pawn oftentimes ends up being on a5 to fix the structure of black on the queen side, and now bishop b6, pointing out that the square has been weakened by black.
And flopping. How do you feel about Hikaru's move bishop b6?
I think it's a natural move. At the same time, it's not as useful as it looks because the queen doesn't have too many squares, but I was gonna say could go to c8 or b8, and then a knight jump to d7 will chase that bishop away.
And that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, Hikaru's idea is that he doesn't want to move the bishop back, but protect it with the knight. And if there was a trade on b6, knight takes b6 is a fork, winning the rook on a8 or capturing the queen, of course. But I assume Nepomniachtchi would move it. Rook b8 steps out of the fork, but that's not an ideal square for the rook. So this might be this might be a good start for Hikaru if he keeps finding ways in which he can put pressure on black. But what's a right way? What's a good way to follow up. C3, C4 are pawn pushes that come to mind sometimes. Knight to D4, but that leads to multiple trades.
It does, and it's difficult to see whether you want to play C3, C4. Nope, it's not difficult. Hikaru plays C4 right away. That's what I said. It wasn't difficult. It was not difficult, not at all.
Simple chess, C4. We all saw it. We all would have played it too. Trade on B6 is not a fork anymore, but the queen has to go. C7, D8, or E8 are the very tempting options. C7 would be the most natural. What will happen afterwards? What's the follow-up? Knight D5 is an option in all of those positions if Hikaru wants to trade on D5.
What else is interesting?
I like those ideas when the pawn structure can change with knight d5, but is black forced to take it? If bishop takes, c takes, you open up the c file. But white can also prepare this. The good thing about knight d5 is you can play it, you can choose the moment to play it when it suits you the most, because black can't really prevent it, so knight d5 will always be in the air. Except for the fact that the pawn on a5 will be hanging if the knight on b6 is undermined.
But queen d2. And so now if knight takes a5, we get queen takes a5, and it's not a problem. Yeah, Hikaru thought for 1 second, so...
Yeah, that is smart.
If there is a guy who is going to blitz out a move too quickly and get a bad position, he's got the black pieces on the big screen. Nepo is a brilliant player. Like, brilliant, does amazing stuff, plays amazing attacking chess. Man, there are some positions where he just plays a move so fast, and he plays on intuition, he plays on the feel. But if he just took a little time, then it'd be a lot better. This knight e5 move, Anna, it looks like it is screaming for the move f4 for white.
Yes, it's a provoking move. F4 would be so natural to play. What is the idea of Nepomniachtchi if f4 by white?
There it is. That's the idea right there. It's happening.
Okay. Sure. So let's see. Let's see what's the idea.
Plays knight d7, and he's just going after the knight on b6. So I guess knight e5 is a move that you can play pretty quickly. And if Hikaru plays the move something like knight back to d5, then he has a nice position, or he can already begin to instigate maybe with f5. 5 takes, something with knight b6. The bishop is trapped, but I'm guessing his idea here is that knight b6 is possible. Or bishop f5, f5, knight b6, and then something with the queen. But by my count... Oh no, the knight on b3 is hanging. I thought that there was like queen e3 possible, but then you lose the queen. Well, that is why you should not do chess commentary when you have a headache, because you will try to lose the queen, and that is not good.
Poor you, Levy. Poor you. But you're doing great. And after f5, what is going on exactly? Wait a second.
Bishop takes f5. Of course, that's what I said, Anna. I said,
yeah.
That's what I said. I said bishop f5. Yeah.
Obvious line, because after e takes f5, black takes on b6, and if Hikaru takes that knight, then queen takes b6, check, and attacks the knight on b3, so wins the piece back. Very, very easy.
So then what is Hikaru planning? Is he planning to take on f5 and just not take back on b6? Would that be the plan? Takes on f5, knight takes b6, and not take back? We just down a pawn there. Takes knight b6. Don't take back, you're just down a pawn.
Yeah, good point. So knight takes b6. c5.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. So if that pawn is captured, then we can trade the queen and take the free knight on b6.
Okay. Then we will take... Well, what if Nepo just goes back to d7? I mean, that's his only other move, right? Well, he can also play knight c8. And I suppose knight a8.
Yeah, knight c8, knight a8, knight d7 drops the d6 pawn. What a move. Pawn to c5.
It's a spicy move, and I appreciate Hikaru trying to keep up with Nepo. But the thing is, the pace that Nepo sets can be very dangerous, because all it takes is for one of the players, if you try to keep up with Nepo on the clock, to do one small mistake, and there it goes. Like, yeah. Anna, Chad is saying it's the Nepo versus the semi-Nepo.
True. And Hikaru himself said that was his aim during the Magnus tour, to play the semi-Nepo. Play fast, but maybe just a little slower, but better, more precise than Nepomniachtchi. I like it. Shall we take a look at the rest of the positions too, while Nepomniachtchi is thinking about the knight jump?
But Hikaru, let's take a tour.
So Magnus Carlsen is facing Pentala Hari Krishna.
Yeah, what did he do, by the way? What did he do? Like, what was his choice? I played the short variation. Wow, so he just goes for the two bishops. Very solid setup here from Magnus, but a good break from Pentala. I mean, listen, you got equality move 16, and world champ is down 5 minutes. I think it's a good opening.
The Caracan keeps being approved by top grandmasters and Mr. Gotham Chess. So guys, maybe it's an opening you need to look into, and Levy's video on the Caracan.
I think I'm slightly more relatable to the average chess fan than a super GM. I feel like, you know, our skills are more closely locked.
I thought you meant you're more relatable because of your great choice of shirts.
I don't know, chat. How's chat? We well dressed?
I mean, everyone is fashionable here in the chat. I know. I can see you guys. I can see you. I can see what you're wearing. You're trying to compete with Levy's shirt today.
I don't know. I feel like chat's gonna be like, we're not wearing shirts. So
okay, let's go back to the chessboard.
Yeah, there we go. There it begins. Clothes? What? I don't watch my stream with clothes.
What is clothes?
That is the best way to enjoy a stream. I mean, preferably with windows closed, or if you rock it that way, then windows open. All right, great. So Queen D8 from Hari. He opens up this bishop. Every time I say Hari, I think of Hagrid saying Harry, as in Harry Potter. Hari.
They're just calling you.
All right. Linier Dominguez versus Alireza Firouzja.
Okay, let's move on to that board.
International flag for Alireza. That's the flag of international stature.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that before. In this position...
Another Caro.
Exactly, shoot, I didn't even realize the opening was another Caro-Kann. It's trending.
This is good. This is good. Hey, the opening that's getting played the most is the Caro-Kann. I'm just saying. Their games are interesting. Jeffrey versus Levon is just the mainline Grunfeld. Wesley Grieschuk is... Oh, this one cracked me up, Anna.
Why so?
Because Grieschuk played the same line that Hikaru just played against him with the black pieces.
Oh,
He didn't play c6. He didn't play c6.
So the Queen's Gambit declined this lengthy line that usually aims to equalize. Solid setup. Difficult to find a grip on it. And Wesley does have some initiative. He's got a bishop versus a knight, but this is still super solid.
Super solid in a relatively reliable position for Grieschuk, even the way he played it, but definitely going to be the snoozer of the round, unfortunately. At least the Jeffrey game, although theoretical, there's a lot more pieces on the board, but even this one, the structure is completely the same. Nepo did play...
defends Hungarian attack. I'm learning more about how many other lines are named after my country.
Is bishop f4 the Hungarian attack?
I didn't know that
is.
in the Grunfeld there's a Hungarian attack, but apparently this is the one.
I just knew this as the 5 bishop f4 variation. No joke. Like that's just how most. I've spoken to GMs about like variation names, and they're like, I don't know what that is. I just know the moves.
Oh, I don't know any names, and I don't even know the names of the openings I play. Like I know it as Rui Lopez, Spanish, Italian, Giorgio Piano, and that's it. After that, for me, that's the Rui Lopez. So I'm the same. I would call it 5 bishop f4. That's exactly how my notes would be.
Yeah, that's how I think classically it was. Some people like to learn things by name, which is fine. A roll that way, that is acceptable. We'll take that. But there is definitely benefit to learning it both ways. However is easiest for you guys to memorize variations.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. In terms of the position, as you said, it's theoretical, but at least it's sharper than the Wesley So Alexander Grieschuk game. This could still go very, very complex. After the trade on d5, one would assume that this knight on b5 is hanging and has to leave the b5 square, but I see our friend Stockfish saying e4, because who cares about the b5 knight when you can attack the d5 knight?
I had an idea that I thought was potentially big brain. Oh, I was literally about to say that. I was going to say knight c7, and I think...
Whoa, big brain called.
But I don't know if it's big brain.
Modes.
So knight c7, queen d8, rook d8, and rook c7. This was going to be my idea, but I didn't like it because of rook d2. I thought that b2 and e2 are both hit. But is it just bad? Okay, well, he didn't play it for a reason. What was so bad about rook d2? Probably just bishop c4 is really good here. And then you hit this pawn. Ah.
Big brain.
Big brain. Then again, b5 got played, and there is no real advantage here for white after all. It's just the rook is very active and looks pleasant.
Yes, very pleasant when you have the rook on the 7th, and the b5 does prevent the e2 bishop from going to c4. So is there another route for that bishop? Bishop to f3 would be logical too, to attack the a8 rook, but after rook b8, that's still... It seems like white has a bit of initiative, but black at the same time is very solid.
Unfortunately, there is no way to get these two rooks of the issue. The rooks and the bishop, although white is very active, moves like bishop h4 somehow are a little bit too slow. Otherwise, this bar would be completely in Jeffrey's favor. It's just equality, which means that moves like this look like they accomplish something, might not. In the Hikaru game, we got c5, we got knight back to c8, and then Hikaru played a very natural move, rook d1, adding pressure, and queen e8 was played by Nepo. Rare to see Nepo so even on time with somebody, isn't it?
It is rare, but Hikaru is up to the test. He is just as speedy as Nepomniachtchi is. Semi-Nepo here in terms of time management. Queen e8 now does step out of the d5, so black could, if he wants to, take on c5. And the queen will just have to c6 or a4. a4 would be more active.
a4 looks kind of annoying. It's the knight, vision on the pawn, cuts down the center. I don't know how you create winning chances here. Either player, frankly. I'm just happy I'm not playing the game. I just get to watch it. I'm like, you guys gotta...
Yeah, when the evaluation bar says 0, 0, 0, but the position is really complex. This is not a dead draw. It's not even a draw. It's just a position where both have dynamic chances. Queen a4 is annoying, so I wonder what Hikaru will do about it. Will he prevent that move somehow? Queen to b4, queen to f4. f4 is the choice of Hikaru. That guards the a4 square, but does offer the b2 pawn.
Sorry, I I know we've got important things on the screen in terms of chess, but I was watching a video cutout of Linier playing against Magnus, and I swear it looked like Linier Dominguez had a mohawk. And I was ready to put that up, and then I like full screened the video because I couldn't believe it. And it's just that in low resolution, not full screen, the camera just like cut off his hair, and he has his. Like I swear, I was like, "Whoa, does this man have a mohawk? That is mad cool." But he doesn't. So my bit of excitement is gone. Sorry.
Oh no! So we will not have a chance to look at the clip now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up anyway. It really looked like for a second that he had a mohawk. Right? I'm just gonna show you guys this.
I need to see it too. Oh my! I was wondering what makes you busy, but now I understand. It's all about the hair.
Yeah, I was just looking at it like, hold on a second. What? Just gotta check Twitter if anything interesting is going on. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but just bear with me. This is just a cutout of the broadcast that features the player cams. Can't believe we're featuring and we're going on a detective case if Linier Dominguez has a mohawk or not. So this is what I saw. Here it is on the screen. Tell me not! That looks like the man has a mohawk.
I mean, it also looked like that.
It looked like he had a damn mohawk. I was like, whoa, Linier! Hey! He certainly doesn't play like a guy that has a mohawk, but hey, if that's what he's doing with his hair. And then it turned out that no, he did.
Oh my.
The entire chat spamming heck W, and one guy goes, no, it doesn't. Look, man, I know it probably takes an immense amount of energy to be a troll, but chat's not on your side on this one, sorry. Okay.
No, honestly, that's a hilarious screen capture. Shout out to webcams in the world, all brands of webcams and all the optical illusions they cause from time to time. In terms of the position of Dominguez, he actually, well, this is getting really complex. That's the Caro-Kann that Firouzja played against Dominguez. And Firouzja's king is still in the middle of the board. If we just analyze this for a moment.
Yes, it is. And he's not castling. He's putting pressure on this file here. I would consider castling soon. Otherwise, you are going to run into some serious problems. I'm going to start instigating on this side of the board. Will not be pleasant.
Yes, I would assume that it's urgent. Exactly. Well, what is it that Linier has to play here? Because that d file, there is a threat of d takes c4, opening up the d file, and the d2 knight would be hanging if queen takes c4.
Good question. Probably rook just say rook d1, but then knight e5 wins the queen on d3. No, so now wins, but attacks.
Yeah. e5 is, after all, always hanging.
Can't escape it.
Yeah. Okay, then queen to c3, steps out of the d5, protects the e5 pawn.
No, but then d4.
Ooh, and then the e5 pawn is gone again. This is not easy.
Yeah, but actually, if you lose e5, can you go like b4, b5? Again, you're gonna do what Wesley So did to Linier when you use his pawn as a shield. You hide behind his pawn. Hikaru's down 2 pawns. Let's go take a look. I will put Magnus Carlsen up.
Magnus with the white pieces here has just played bishop to d3. We're going back to Hikaru. So just let me know which one we have on the main board. You meant the small board. Yeah, exactly. There's not much going on in Magnus's position at the moment. We'll come back to it later, but it's on the small board.
Yeah, this one's a little bit spicier. Hikaru just played f takes g6.
Ooh.
So Nepo has to respond by capturing with the h-pawn or the queen, I do think that taking with the h-pawn is by far more natural, and you cannot take with the f-pawn because I take your king and then I win.
I like how that was also an argument, basically, or just a conversation, debate during PogChamps. Why is that not the end of the game? It's so much more dramatic if you can capture the king.
Wait. So, sorry. Sorry. If Nepo takes on g6, Anna,
Yeah,
isn't he up 3 pawns?
kind of. My math is terrible, but I do count 3.
How is it 0-0-0? Does that mean that Hikaru has a giant attack here? Like, you can't be down 3 pawns in 0-0-0. That means that Hikaru's position is excellent.
True. Which is great news, because even if the engine considers this just about enough compensation for Hikaru to have equality, in a practical game, to have this much initiative that's 3 pawns down, you still have an equal position. I agree with you. This is great news for how powerful Hikaru's pieces are, how powerful this potential attack on the king side will be.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a move like queen h6, right? And normally you get queen h6, queen takes g6 with a check. But the problem is, oh, so guys, just to explain my logic, the pawn is pinned by the bishop, but the queen is still there on defense. So queen h6 doesn't actually create a threat, or does it? Because you're threatening like rook takes f7. Is that the move that we're about to see?
Maybe. I mean, that's very tempting.
Because rook f7, you walk into a pin, and then I play rook d8 check, and you can't block. But this bishop covers all of the diagonal. Another idea is bishop f7, and then rook f7, rook d8 with the same intention.
Mm-hmm. If it works, it works. So let's see if Hikaru calculates those lines and makes it work, because we are here thinking that that should be a tactical element, but it has to be, of course, calculated precisely before one makes a move like that. He already sacrificed 3 pawns, so basically he's all in with the sacrifices, and he can continue giving up more material.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's time to potentially cash out of the casino, though.
I think what justifies these kind of attacks, though, sometimes is how the queen side of black is still pretty undeveloped. Yes, both the knight and the rook of black have been moved, but the rook is not doing anything on b8 and is not connected to the f8 rook, so the c8 knight is in the way. Those are 2 pieces that are not helping the black king on g8. That's why more sacrifices may be possible.
Did someone in chat just say rook d8? What are we missing something?
Rook d8?
What, or were they saying rook d8 after a move? Because rook d8, I just take it, no?
Yeah.
Am I, what, rook takes f7 or something? What, are we just getting debated? Are you saying rook d8 after you play something else? Chat, what are we doing? What? Gotta throw in another move first, like bishop takes f7, rook f7, and then rook d8. Then rook d8 does make sense. But God, this is gonna be so crazy. Can you really play like this? I mean, this breaks all the principles of playing it slow in a rapid game. Oh my God, Wesley So and Grieschuk already drew? Come on, dude. 28.
Okay, that was a very solid opening. And you did say it wasn't gonna bring fireworks, so the draw has been agreed since.
Weird day for Grieschuk. Did Grieschuk win today?
If he has won any games today.
Did he draw his games today?
Let me refresh my memory. He won his first game of the day against Jeffrey, and then he drew the rest.
Okay. Then it was a good day. Then he had a pretty solid
+1.
day.
Yeah, 2 draws, 1 win.
Good bounce back. Wow, what a ridiculous position. The thing is that Hikaru just has to trust his instinct here, and that could be difficult to do in Rapid. It's actually easier maybe to trust your instinct in Blitz. Just go, boom. But he cannot fall too far behind on the clock.
True, it's still over 10 minutes for Hikaru, 14 minutes for Nepomniachtchi. It certainly is not the position, as you said, where you sacrifice by intuition and then see. In Blitz and Bullet, it could work, but this is still too much time for Nepomniachtchi, and he would manage to find a defense within his 14 minutes.
Exactly. Back. 6 is... looks like it invites so many different tactics on f7, g6. Somebody's saying queen g3 hits the rook. Yeah, but it doesn't create a threat on this square because the queen is guarding. There's maybe bishop d5. There's nothing inherently wrong with a lot of the moves that you're suggesting. Also, remember, if you're watching the game with some sort of computer, which is obviously completely fine, don't do the thing where you see the line and then like feed it to us, because the thing is that right now there's 4 or 5 distinct options for white which all look good, and it's not clear which one is best.
Definitely not clear, and all these sacrifices, you cannot just take on f7 and hope for the best. So Hikaru is taking his time because this is a critical moment where he may sacrifice more material or may play bishop d5, then sacrifice. All those moves, the precise move order, it can determine the result. It can change the result from one score to the other. So crucial decision. I can't wait to see what Hikaru will eventually play.
Speaking of which, speaking of taking over results, where's Hare Krishna's queen?
Ouch. After knight takes e5, rook takes e5 on move 20, and then a trade on f8. Okay, no, it happened way later actually. Move 24. I can't read numbers. Rook to f1, and he just decided to not move the queen away from f8, but take on e3 instead.
I think he played knight c5, attacking the bishop on d3 and rook here, and he might have thought that bishop takes was the only move or something. I don't know, but here he decided to sacrifice like this. It's actually a very difficult decision. Which bishop do you take? Chat, which bishop would you take? You take on d3 or e3? You have black here. Some guy said both. Thank you, Gacto. Appreciate it. Just both moves at the same time. Just bop them. What are they going to do?
I mean, I wish we could take both and then the rook as well, but he chose the e3 rook, the e3 bishop, and then takes the rook. Stockfish was saying that the other bishop was more important to capture, but even then it gives advantage for Magnus. So it does look like knight c5 after all was the mistake, because after knight c5 there's no way black could have kept the queen. If you were to just simply move it after rook f1, either the c5 knight is hanging or there's queen c8 check, picking up the knight on c5.
I don't think... Do you think Hari missed rook f1? I don't know. I don't think so. But...
yeah, it would be interesting to know what was the time situation there. But if he wanted to give out the queen, unfortunately for him, he must have misevaluated the position. We are helped by the evaluation bar, so easy for us to say. But it does look like Magnus Carlsen's position is decisive advantage. It is a rook and a piece, a rook and a knight for the queen, but the black's pieces are not coordinating well enough, and black cannot really attack anything. Black has more pieces. Number-wise, there are more of them than what white has, but there's no target. There's no way black can create actual threats within the next few moves. So white has a free roll here.
So that Hikaru made a move. He did play queen h6. It's, in my opinion, the most natural move.
Yeah.
But I wonder what is the idea here. What is the idea?
Oh, I think I understand. Because if now he gets to play bishop to d5, then queen d6 would lose the queen due to bishop takes f7. And every other move hangs the g6 pawn because the f7 pawn is pinned.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it's minus 1.5 because the computer is sitting there going, try me, human. Nepo still might be sitting there going, oh my god, this position is ridiculous. Why do I do this to myself? I should just play more, more...
He plays... Sorry,
move.
Levy, I'm just shocked because it's the best move of the engine, but I was gonna say it's impossible he'll play it because it gives up the g6 pawn with a check.
He might not have had an option, because otherwise rook f7 was coming and you were just going to get steamrolled.
Yeah.
Knight d6, and now he's giving away g6 with check. I mean, surely Hikaru, he did visualize this. Maybe he calculated some other stuff, but for the most part, this is gonna happen. Now we get queen g6, and then probably bishop comes back to g7.
That is the idea. It's crazy how this looks so scary. Queen takes g6 with a check. One would start celebrating the winner already, but bishop comes back to g7, as Levy pointed out, and there's no follow-up. The f7 pawn is well protected.
This is a very tense position. Luckily, it's only the second day of 5. So in case something goes wrong in a game that you're trying to make look like an immortal game, you at least have a little bit of time to bounce back. So folks were coming in from a raid. Welcome, people. If you're just joining us, we're watching a 5-day-long chess tournament, because that's how chess is. It's the St. Louis Rapid Blitz. 10 players are competing for $250,000 worth of prizes. We are watching none other Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura, who is in a very complicated game, I have to say, against Russian number 1, best player in Russia, the 4th ranked player in the world, Jan Nepomniachtchi.
Not an easy opponent, but Nepo does have his ups and downs, and in the previous round he had a very bad game against Jeffrey Shang. Although, as Hikaru said it before too, those games, if it's just a very bad game where he blundered something or something clearly went terribly wrong for him in the opening against Jeffrey, it's perhaps not as bad as when you constantly miss moves and lines in a game. It was just straight out bad from the beginning, as if he wanted to throw the house on Jeffrey, but there was no actual way of doing it, so he got punished for it.
Probably the best thing here for white is queen takes g6, and then you probably have to sacrifice the rook. Whoa!
Knight e4. Okay.
Oh.
So if bishop takes, Hikaru wants to sacrifice the rook for the bishop on d4 and then take on g6.
And then it's a draw.
Whoa.
Or it's winning. It's winning, apparently.
Not to draw, not to draw.
I thought he was just going for perpetual, but he has something better?
No, he just gives up a rook and then it would be checkmate. Let's take a look at that line with queen takes g6, and where's the mate?
Computer is just ridiculous because it sits there and laughs at you if you try to
Oh, the rook will come eventually into the game through the 4th rank. No, rook f4 doesn't win because
oh man,
you can take on c4 with the knight.
Queen e4, Nepo blitzes out and Hikaru plays rook f4.
What a crazy game indeed. Queen e4, rook f4. The evaluation bar shows a lot of advantage for black, but Nepomniachtchi's position is hanging by a thread. He's about to get checkmated if he doesn't play the most precise defense.
Wow, this is wild. So what exactly if I play queen e3, king moves, and then I take your knight? Then queen g6. My head hurts just looking at this position.
I can understand you. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, either that's one. This position is kind of it kind of kills the beauty of the game, because if you don't have the eval bar, you don't get to sit there and go, "Oh my god, Hikaru blundered. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." It's more like, whoa. This looks scary for everybody involved. This knight is trying to block the bishop out from the defense. Rook is trying to go to g4, h4 for checkmate ideas. But I can already imagine the interview afterward with Hikaru. Whatever the result is going to be.
Yeah, and of course we are amazed by Nepomniachtchi finding the very best defensive moves, because they are not easy at all. Yes, these are the top players in the world, but making those precise decisions, and now he crumbles a little bit because queen takes f4 doesn't seem to be the most accurate, although it simplifies the position, so it might be a practically good decision.
Yeah, this is a practical decision. It's not like the computer will disagree with you, because it'll be like, well, I saw something that's, cut out the entire white attack, but here it's what is the count? It's 2 rooks and 3 pawns for the queen, which is 5 plus 5 plus 3, which is 17 to white. Just kidding. 13 points to white's 9. Black has a 4-point material advantage, but Hikaru still will play h4, h5, and so on. It's not so pleasant to be black here.
No, I see the evaluation bar being much in favor of black's position, but I agree with you that it's not that simple. Yes, it's a lot of material, so it's 2 rooks and 3 pawns for the queen, which when you count it is worth a lot altogether. That's 13 points, and let's say the queen is 9 points, so that's over a minor piece of difference in value, but the position itself is not that simple. I think that Hikaru has chances here still. Magnus Carlsen has won his game in the meantime.
Wow.
That queen versus rook and minor piece.
Does Magnus go 3-0 today? Go Magnus. 3-0. Look at him.
Yeah, after yesterday's unfortunate happening of the disconnection and then losing on time against Nepomniachtchi, he today says hello to the field again with 3 out of 3 and is going to be the leader of the field. Who else can catch him? Wesley did draw, so he cannot have the same points as Magnus. Yeah, Magnus Carlsen leading the tournament.
Magnus is in first place with how many points? A lot. Is a lot of points a lot of, how many points is a lot of points?
A lot. Just for the scoring system, the rapid games count twice as much, because it's to balance out the fact that there will be 9 rapid games and 18 blitz games. So every win in blitz is 1 point, every win at rapid chess is 2 points, a draw at rapid is therefore 1 point.
Yeah, we do need to give Hikaru some pets for sure. Wesley So, by the way, is still the sleeper candidate the first few days. He's got 8 points. He's 1 point away, which is 1 draw away from Magnus Carlsen. One of his draws turned into a win. That's an extra point. And I don't think Wesley has lost. So Wesley's undefeated. Magnus did lose 1 game, but it was to disconnect. And Magnus is in amazing form. He's in amazing form. There's not much else to say. And there it
Definitely.
is, h4. There's h4 from Hikaru. So, Anna, Hikaru will probably try to get some sort of drawing net. He will try to
expose the black king, and therefore he would have perpetual. But Nepomniachtchi is playing again a really strong move, knight f5, to try to create some kind of a blockade in front of his king, a shelter for the king to hide from the checks.
Zhang Aronian, meanwhile, is a draw, and there's Hikaru is playing h5. This looks like Nepo is completely happy with the draw. This breaking apart of the structure, the weak black king will most likely result in perpetual. And I would imagine that Hikaru will join us. Wow, players are getting done with this round very fast. I am going to have enough time to make it to my appointment.
They care about your appointment, David. They don't want you to be late at the dentist.
Yeah, they want me to get, metal things grating against my mouth for like 30 minutes. That's Gotham suffering is good for everybody. So What is going on in the Dominguez game? I'm sorry, Hikaru. You're my boy, but this is probably going to be a draw. It's relatively straightforward. Dominguez. Man, what a weird position. Alireza never castled, by the way.
Never castled, but he managed to activate his rook with a beautiful rook lift through the 6th rank. That rook is active on g6. And what is this gathering on the 4th and 5th ranks in the center? Almost all squares are taken.
Looks like a convention of pieces. It's like the armada just meeting all in the middle. What's going on, by the way? Who's up material? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7. I highlighted the wrong piece. 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reza is down pawn.
Down a pawn, but he could pick up a pawn with knight f3, knight h4. Or knight takes h4 immediately. Does that work?
Oh, because knight f3. Of course. I was like, hold on. I'm trying to figure out, does Anna have something up her sleeve with this move? Check. You can't take because of the pin.
So is that good? Knight takes h4 or knight f3 and then take. But if I could, I would take first on h4 and keep the knight on d4 if it's possible. I'm also just looking at Hikaru. We have him on the small board, and Nepomniachtchi has taken the pawn on h5. Hikaru captures on b7. Let's see if he'll manage to set up a perpetual. It's still not that simple.
It's not. This Hikaru, I mean, this Dominguez Alireza game will go on for a while. They will single-handedly delay my departure, but it's no problem.
You can still make it. Knight takes h4 is on the board by Alireza, and the evaluation bar doesn't like it. What is it that we are missing?
I don't know.
It looks like such a natural decision, and g3 by Dominguez is also not favored by the evaluation bar, just keeps jumping up and down. So now back to advantage for Firouzja.
Back to advantage for Firouzja, but that position looks incredibly difficult to defend in any case. So I mean, Lenier has been under attack by everybody today. Who did Lenier play in the 4th round? Remembering the pairings of this tournament is so brutal.
It's very tough, and I still have the Fischer run up 2 in my head, so I'm confusing the days.
Played Wesley. Oh my god, if Lenier loses this round, he's 0-3 today. He loses every game he plays.
And he started so well. He started so well. Oh my.
He got as many points today as I got. Ouch. 0-3.
Knight h2 f3 check by Firouzja is very logical, and on the main board we have Hikaru's queen d5. Hikaru basically is trying to go for a position where there would be perpetual check with the queen. So for that, he takes the pawn on f5 and then starts giving checks from g5, from the h file. What can black do about it? Perhaps to bring the rook to the 6th rank. That's what Nepomniachtchi is doing, actually. So, yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, just was going to say it's the fortress. Like, even if Hikaru didn't have like pawns, this is the defensive setup that black gets with pawn, rook, king, and the queen just can't break through it, and the king can't get through it either.
Yeah, that's true.
Nepo missed the move. We got yelled at, by the way, it cracked me up. Some chat member wrote like an essay. He was like, you know, Nepo is a super grandmaster. Please do not think that he will not find the right moves. And he didn't. Because it's super tricky to calculate everything correctly in this position. So apparently, Nepo here had to play queen e3 check, king h1, and not take the knight, which also was good, but play knight takes c4, just take the bishop. And then if knight f3 trying to go for knight g5, bishop f6.
Okay, but, yeah, sure.
Then, you know, that apparently was going to stabilize everything.
Yeah, it's easy for us when we can look at the engine, have the variation bar. So for the players, Yes, they are the best players in the world, but these positions are crazy difficult. They don't have hours and hours to analyze the depth of those complex positions, complex lines. So, yes, they are very strong, but they all may make mistakes or at least inaccurate moves.
Yep. So when we sit here and go, listen, this position is very tricky, and the opponent has to, and the guy has to find all the right moves. We mean it. It's not that we're sitting here projecting, although maybe we are subconsciously. That we wouldn't find those moves.
We would not. Nepo is finding the right moves here when it comes to setting up a way for the rooks to protect each other and also protect the f7 square so that there are no checks for Hikaru.
H3, king comes up. Just something on the bottom left. Somebody said that Firouzja blundered. I think what had happened was the eval bar jumped up for a second and then it came back down. Or a few more moves were made and then... Yeah, let's go see. Quickly. So we had king g2, queen c6. What were you guys saying? We're saying that, oh, well, apparently Lenier had to play b4. Apparently he had a chance here to come back. They repeated, which is why the eval bar did something weird, and now Alireza, instead of repeating, plays knight g5. And that is the best move, I think. Oh, wait, Alireza has 5 seconds.
True. 2, 1. Wait, now it jumped back, but...
Oh, he won! Alireza flagged, I think.
What? You're kidding. Are we having an issue with the clock, or
No,
is it
no.
for real? He lost on time.
I think he actually lost on time. Yeah, I think because he had 5 seconds. Oh man. Oh man, that's so brutal.
That's so unfortunate. He has a great position here.
Oh.
Queen c6 could have been a follow-up to place the queen on the long diagonal, threaten with a discover check. He must have been calculating all those lines, and he just a moment ago he stepped out of the move repetition. So he had a draw in one hand, and he then decided to play on because he does have a promising position. And what he got instead was a loss. That is so sad.
He just gets no points. I mean, he has a very legitimate chance to pick up 2 points here. And he ends the day... He ends day 2 in last place. Wow.
That feels so sad for Firouzja. But Dominguez too was struggling today, and it would have been his 3rd loss of the day had he lost against Firouzja. The position wasn't completely winning for Firouzja. We just think he had good chances, a promising position, but no time. Oof, that's tough. Chess is tough.
I just gotta say that Hikaru also has a very difficult task in front of him. This is not a pleasant endgame. He does not have enough pawns, and Black does not have enough weaknesses. Black's rook single-handedly defends every pawn. So Nempo's gonna try to hunt down Hikaru. And yeah, Hikaru's gonna be fighting for a draw here. But Hikaru also was so busted up in this game, just like yesterday in the last round. Just weird last round games, but if he's able to salvage 1 point from both those games instead of 0, that would be huge.
Yeah, I wonder if there will be a way for Hikaru to save this. King g3, now rook g6 check. Logical, because black will take on g2.
King f3, and now if you take with this rook, you cannot play queen f5 because rook f6 wins the queen. Always make sure, guys, to not put the queen and king on the same line. At least not if there is a check or an attack available.
Yeah.
So, okay, rook eg2. Now what?
Oh, he takes with the other rook.
No, I actually thought this was good.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was looking at the rook 6 to g2 for whatever reason. I thought that's better.
That also works. Yeah, I don't know. Wasn't rook g6 the best move instead of rook e2? According to the computer, yes. I see it. It does say rook
now
g6.
he can take it. Now he can take it because he gave the check first, chased the king away from g7, so there's no rook f6 anymore. He takes the pawn on f5. This is promising again.
Yes. Yeah, apparently in that position instead of rook e2, computer was saying rook g6 with some very weird cutting off of the king and like a patient maneuver. Guys, I also can read the machine, but you're trying to make moves that are practical, and if you don't see a weird geometric boxing in of a position of the king, then like what are you gonna do? It's not so simple. And now Hikaru has a fortress situation where basically he has to not lose this pawn, but Nepo's gonna play this forever. Nepo can play this forever, can't he?
He can. He'll definitely try. This is still so difficult for Hikaru to defend.
Yeah, man, he's gonna be upset with himself if this isn't holdable, because this is actually maybe the worst way to lose this game.
Yeah, the position was so interesting. He was basically sacrificing tons of material, 3 pawns down for Hikaru in the middle game, but very active pieces. He had enough compensation. Perhaps that knight d4, which looked interesting, but was refuted by Nepo. Unfortunately, that's a moment where it seems that the game went away, but this is still not completely over, or is it? The evaluation bar says it is, because
Oh my god! Oh my god! Rook f5, rook g6, rook h5. Oh my god!
Oh no! Oh no! This is the ladder mate we teach.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I mean it was rough. That was a rough game. There's no way around it.
Oh
Wow.
no.
Damn.
I'm still in shock because I thought that Hikaru's attack was so promising, and the evaluation bar said 000 for a position where Hikaru was 3 pawns down. He sacrificed that much material. 3 pawns is worth a minor piece, so he basically had given up that much material and still had a really promising attack. So his idea was good, but then the execution, something was missing there. Maybe that sacrifice on f7, queen h6 seems strong, but there was no follow-up. And Nepomniachtchi, of course, credit to Nepomniachtchi for finding the best defensive moves there with knight d6. So crazy complex position, but Nepomniachtchi wins. And that means that Hikaru today, in today's first round, he won his game against Alireza Firouzja. Then in today's second round against Alexander Grieschuk, he drew. And in this game, unfortunately, he's going down against Nepomniachtchi. This tournament has seen a lot of crazy ups and downs in terms of performance, mistakes, inaccuracies. As for Nepomniachtchi, he has just played a really good game against Hikaru, but in the previous game, it was a disaster for him against Jeffrey. So there's no one being that consistent except for the world champion today, who goes 3 out of 3.
And let's before we sign out for the day, I think also we should really try to rally around Hikaru, because it was a difficult last round game, and he's I mentioned that I wasn't feeling so great. My head was kind of killing me. I think Hikaru might rest. I think he's not feeling 100%. Headache as well. So send him energy. I'm going to preview the matchups that we have tomorrow.
Sure.
And let's also not forget something, that this is not the second of the like tomorrow's not the last day of Rapid.
Yeah.
We have Rapid coming up on we do have Rapid tomorrow, but then there's 18 games of Blitz, which actually count to your overall score. So Hikaru did say yesterday in the interview that being middle of the pack isn't the worst thing going into the Blitz, because he is confident in his Blitz abilities. But obviously, it's been difficult. Tomorrow, he kicks things off with the black pieces against Levon Aronian, which is... I don't think there's any good pairings in this field.
Everyone is strong, so yeah, there's no free roll, there's no round that would be easier than others. Levon was leading the tournament not long ago, and then he also crumbled. He'll be facing Hikaru tomorrow in the first game with the white pieces, and the other two opponents of Hikaru for the rapid are Sasha Krishna in round 8, and round 9 will feature Jeffrey Shang with the white pieces against Hikaru. The tournament leader is Magnus Carlsen. He won 3 games today out of 3. And in the second place, we have a tie between Nepomniachtchi and Wesley So. These have been the pairings. And in terms of what's at stake, $250,000 in total. But as we have highlighted so many times, and we keep reminding you guys, tomorrow is not the final day for the tournament. It's the final day for the rapid, but the Blitz games will count for the same tournament. So it's the overall score, rapid and Blitz together, that will determine the winner, which means that everyone still has a chance, even those who are in the middle of the pack or perhaps even at the bottom. That's a bigger climb, and you need a huge winning streak for that. But mathematically, everyone still has options, and most certainly Hikaru is still very close to the first places, and he is a beast at Blitz chess. 18 Blitz games will follow after the rapid.
That's true. 18 possible points to pick up there, and we will sign off for the day.
Oh my.